माननीय मंत्री जी, माननीय मंत्री जी।
सर उत्तर सभा पटल पर रख दिया।
फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री।
माननीय सभापति महोदय, बड़ा गंभीर सवाल था। मैं उम्मीद करता था कि कैबिनेट मंत्री हमारे गुजराती भाई मांडविया जी जवाब देंगे। बड़ी शालीन मंत्री राज्य कक्षा की है, उनको ही जवाब देना है। खैर इनका सब्जेक्ट है। मैं ये जानना चाहता हूँ, यहाँ इस हाउस में बैठे हुए हमारे में से कोई भी यहाँ हाथ रख के कहेंगे कोविड के दौरान हमें फ़ोन आते थे, हमें डॉक्टर्स ने, हमें गवर्नमेंट्स ने भी कहा कि ऑक्सीजन सप्लाई नहीं थी और डेथ हुए हैं, ये हकीकत है। अब यहाँ पे सरकार का जो रिटर्न रिप्लाई है, उस रिटर्न रिप्लाई में कहा गया है कि कोविड की वजह से 5,21,358 डेथ हुए हैं। मैं फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री में आपके जरिए ये जानना चाहता हूँ कि गुजरात सरकार ने पहले कहा था कि कोविड में 10,000 लोगों ही सिर्फ मृत्यु हुई है, 10,000 एंड ऑड। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि आपको मुआवजा के लिए डिटेल दीजिए, जांच कीजिए। उसके बाद निकला कि 1.5 लाख से ज्यादा लोग गुजरात में कोरोना से मृत्यु हुए हैं, ऑफिशियल फिगर आया बाहर। तो इधर ये जो 5,21,358 है, उसमें गुजरात का कौन सा फिगर है, 10,000 या 1.5 लाख?
धन्यवाद।
उपसभापति महोदय, आपके माध्यम से मैं ये ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी, आदरणीय शक्ति सिंह जी ने, माननीय संसद जी ने उपस्थित किया मुद्दा। पहला तो ये है कि माननीय कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर आज जो कॉन्फ्रेंस पे गए हैं, तो वो भी एक देश की सक्षम भूमिका रखने के लिए ही गए हैं। वो देश की एक अच्छी भूमिका जो कि ग्लोबल लेवल को भारत को सराहना जा रहा है। मुझे लगता है अगर इस अच्छी बात को अप्रिशिएट किया जाए तो मैं बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ। लेकिन ये बहुत ही गंभीर मुद्दा है और आदरणीय सांसद महोदय ने जो पूछा था कि क्या ऑक्सीजन को लेके क्या व्यवस्था और डिमांड के बारे में, फिर एक बार ये माननीय कैबिनेट मिनिस्टर मनसुख भाई ने लास्ट वीक में और लास्ट सेशन में भी इसका जवाब डिटेल दिया था। मैं फिर एक बार बड़ी नम्रतापूर्वक ये कहना चाहूँगी सर, क्योंकि ये सर लगातार ये मुद्दा आता है, कुछ बातें भी फ्लोर पे रखनी ज़रूरी है कि यूनियन गवर्नमेंट हैज़ रिक्वेस्टेड स्टेट्स UTs टू फर्निश द डिटेल्स एज आस्क्ड फॉर। सर इसमें से 20 states and UTs have responded and none of the states and UTs have reported confirmed deaths due to oxygen shortage। सर हमने लगातार इस बारे में उन राज्यों को पत्र भी लिखे हैं, वो पत्र के भी डिटेल्स हमने दिए हैं। उसमें सर 11 बार हमने ईमेल्स भेजे हैं, चिट्ठियाँ लिखी है, कुछ राज्यों को रिमाइंडर दिए हैं। सर राज्यों ने देने के बाद ही हम सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट उसको पार्लियामेंट पे रख के बोलते हैं। लेकिन सर जैसा कि इन्होंने कहा कि पहले मृत्यु की संख्या कम थी और आज आपने जो डेटा दिए हैं वो 5 लाख का डेटा है डेथ्स का। सर ये बहुत ही दुखदाई है, क्लेशदायी है कि एक ऐसा पेंडेमिक आया कि जिसमें हम इस कोविड को जो नया था उसमें डेथ्स के बारे में भी रिपोर्ट करना हो, तो इसमें सर लगातार सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट से रिसर्च बेस्ड जो भी आता था उसके नोटिफिकेशन, उसमें गाइडलाइंस जाते थे। और तो और सर जो भी डेथ के बारे में रिपोर्टिंग था उसमें भी सर व्यवस्था दी गई कि ये इन्होंने करना है पोर्टल पे। लेकिन सर कुछ राज्यों ने जो कि उस टाइम नहीं किए वो आज भी कर रहे हैं। इसीलिए सर आज आपने जो सवाल उठाया, लेकिन सर आपने गुजरात के बारे में पूछा है तो मैं उसका डिटेल आपको ज़रूर देती हूँ। सर उसके बाद भी ये एक्स ग्रेशिया का भी जो NDMA के थ्रू माननीय हाईकोर्ट ने जो स्टेटमेंट दिया उसके आधार पर ये बढ़ा है जो आपने कहा है उसका डिटेल रिपोर्ट। लेकिन सर ये हमारे पास आ रहा है, ये जो है रिपोर्ट ये सभी राज्यों से आ रहा है जो कि ये दर्शाता है।
सेकंड सर
सप्लीमेंट्री वो तो ये था कि आज 10,000 है इसमें या 1.5 लाख, वो जवाब तो नहीं मिला मुझे। मेरा सेकंड सप्लीमेंट्री ये है कि भारत सरकार ने खुद एक नोटिफिकेशन निकाला था कि कोविड से जो भी डेथ होगी उसको 4 लाख का कंपनसेशन दिया जाएगा। वो निकालने के कुछ ही घंटों में, तो कहूँगा दिन भी नहीं, उसमें रिवर्स हो गए और 4 लाख नहीं देना। तो उसकी वजह क्या थी? और कोविड में लोग बहुत परेशान होकर डेथ हुई थी, तो सरकार इसके पुनः विचार करके 4 लाख रुपीस जो भी डेथ कोविड के हुए उनको देना चाहती है या नहीं?
उपसभापति महोदय, आदरणीय सदस्य ने जो प्रश्न उपस्थित किया है, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने लगातार इस बारे में बड़ी ही ट्रांसपेरेंसी मोड पे जो भी गाइडलाइंस है ये दिए हैं। इसमें पहली बार तो सर जो डर था कि पेशेंट के बाद जो इन्फेक्ट होंगे तो उनका क्या, तो वो तो इतना पहला बड़ा डर था कि उसके लिए सर गरीब कल्याण पैकेज के तहत हमने जो इंश्योरेंस दिया, जो कि डायरेक्ट कोविड के पेशेंट के कांटेक्ट में आएंगे तो उन्हें हम तुरंत इंश्योरेंस के माध्यम से प्रोटेक्ट करेंगे। सर आज उनका भी हमने मदद की है। सर उसके बाद आप सदस्य ने जो प्रश्न उठाया है कि एक्स ग्रेशिया, सर माननीय कोर्ट ने जो कहा कि इनका डिटेल लेना जो कि कोविड रिलेटेड डेथ हुए हैं, सर ये एक्स ग्रेशिया के रूप में जो कि 50,000 का उन्हें मदद मिलेगा। सर ये सेंट्रल गाइडलाइंस के तहत आज स्टेट के तहत आज जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पे जो कलेक्टर की अंडर जो कमिटी है सर वो इसको एग्जामिन भी करते हैं और उनके तहत ये नाम भी आते हैं। सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के नाम आने के बाद ये डिटेल भी दिए हैं। सर ये एनडीएमए ने 50,000 का ये प्रावधान किया है, ये 4 लाख का नहीं है, ये बात क्लियर हो गई है।
थैंक यू। माननीय जुगल सिंह लोखंडवाला।
पहले तो माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी को, स्वास्थ्य मंत्री जी को और हमारे वैज्ञानिकों सबको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि ये वैश्विक महामारी 100 साल में एक बार आती है और जिस तरह माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के निगरानी के अंदर कोविड की वैक्सीनेशन का जो इनोवेशन, सैनिटाइजर का प्रदान और मास्क जिस तरह दिया गया, मैं सवाल ही बाहर हूं, जिस तरह दिया गया
आप बैठे,
उसी तरह
सवाल
ये मैं पूछना चाहता हूं माननीय मंत्री जी से कि पुरानी सरकारें जिस तरह ये महामारी, वैश्विक महामारी जो है, जो सुविधा नहीं दे पाई थी, आज की तारीख के अंदर क्या हमारे वैज्ञानिकों द्वारा कोई प्रयोगशाला बनाई जाएंगी या बनाएंगे कि जैसे विश्व के अंदर कोई ऐसी महामारी आए तो इसको रोक सके?
सवाल संक्षिप्त रखें प्लीज। प्लीज प्लीज बैठकर, प्लीज कुर्सी पर बैठकर आपस में बात ना करें प्लीज। कोई रिकॉर्ड पर नहीं जा रही आप लोग की आपस की बातचीत, प्लीज।
माननीय उपसभापति महोदय, जो सवाल उठा है कि क्या हमने इस दौरान कोविड के कार्यकाल में क्या किया है और आगे जाके भविष्य में अगर ऐसे ही पैंडेमिक का सामना करना पड़े तो क्या इसके लिए प्रावधान है। मैं आदरणीय सांसद महोदय जी का पहले तो धन्यवाद देती हूँ कि जो काम हुआ है उसमें बहुत ही बढ़ोतरी हुई है, क्योंकि जो डिमांड थी पैंडेमिक के पहले और आज ये लगातार अच्छी बनी है व्यवस्था हेल्थ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को लेके। फॉर एग्जांपल अगर हमारे पास आज 3,000 से भी ज़्यादा अच्छे लैब खड़े हुए हैं, कोविड की फैसिलिटीज़ में जो बेड्स बने हैं सर, आज मुझे यहाँ रखते हुए 5 लाख के भी ज़्यादा ऑक्सीजन सपोर्टेड बेड बने हैं। आईसीयू के भी बेड 1.5 लाख से ज़्यादा खड़े हुए हैं। पीएसए प्लांट्स जो कि कम थे, ना के बराबर थे, राज्यों के पास थे वो कम थे, लेकिन आज सर हर एक ज़िले में पीएसए प्लांट लगना चाहिए, ताकि खुद आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने उस पर गौर भी किया और आज 4,000 से भी ज़्यादा हमारे पीएसए प्लांट्स खड़े हैं अलग अलग मिनिस्ट्री के थ्रू और पीएसयू के थ्रू, पीएम केयर के थ्रू। सर ऑक्सीजन सिलेंडर हो या ऑक्सीजन कॉन्सेंट्रेटर हो, ये लाखों में उन स्टेट्स को अलॉट भी किए हैं, उसका भी डिटेल्स अवेलेबल है। आज वेंटिलेटर्स को देखा जाए सर, तो मैंने भी खुद देखा कि पहले पैंडेमिक के पहले क्या वेंटिलेटर्स था लगभग 16,000 के करीब। आज सर हमने वेंटिलेटर्स की संख्या देखी है तो वो 60,000 के भी ज़्यादा आज खड़े हैं। तो मुझे लगता है सारी इमरजेंसी को टैकल करते हुए लगातार ये व्यवस्था बनी। उसके अलावा पैकेजेस भी जाहिर हुए, ECRP 1 हो, ECRP 2 हो, NHM हो या फिर हमारा डिज़ास्टर रिस्पांस फंड हो, ये अलग अलग माध्यम से व्यवस्था खड़ी हुई। और माननीय सदस्य ने ये कहा कि जो लगातार आगे आने वाले दिनों के लिए तो ज़रूर पीएम अभीम के द्वारा जो बजट दिया है, मैं फिर एक बार आदरणीय फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर को धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ कि आगे आने वाले दिनों के लिए भी एक 64,000 करोड़ का बजट दिया है, जो कि हमारे हेल्थ को अगेन एक बूस्ट देगा और इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को स्ट्रेंथन करेगा, जिसमें ये लैब्स जो कि एक अच्छी लैब की सुविधा भी बने। सर, आज BSL 3 लैब जो कि डिटेक्ट करती है कोई नया वायरस आता है तो, लेकिन उसको लिमिटेशन, सर ये सुनना होगा। आदरणीय सभापति महोदय, मैं ये जरूर अनुरोध करती हूँ कि क्यों सुनना होगा, क्योंकि BSL 3 का पता ही नहीं है BSL 3 है क्या। तो BSL 3 ऐसी लैब है कि जो खड़ी होने वाली है 4 लैब्स के रूप में, जो मोबाइल होगी, कि जैसे कोरोना का वायरस आया हमें पता नहीं था, लेकिन अगर कोई नया वायरस आता है तो वो उसी जगह डिटेक्ट भी होगा और वो कंटेनमेंट जोन बनेगा ताकि वहाँ से फैले नहीं। तो ये सोच है सर, ये सोच की बात है। तो मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहती हूँ आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का, वो आगे की सोच को देख के इस तरीके के एडवांस टेक्नोलॉजी को ला रहे हैं। मैं धन्यवाद देती हूँ।
माननीय जवाहर सरकार जी, माननीय जवाहर सरकार जी,
I want to ask one straight question.
प्लीज
One.
प्लीज प्लीज पुट
Sir,
क्वेश्चन।
every time we ask such questions, they say health is a state subject. Death is a state subject. Life certificates are given by somebody else's picture. But साफ समझने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ कि is the division between death and life, between good and bad, according to the federal system, to the states and central?
Please question.
What is all?
Please question.
Every time in education
Please
also
question.
you say the same.
Thank you.
So give me
Thank
a
you.
straight answer.
Thank you. Thank you.
आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन है और ये बेसिक क्वेश्चन जुड़ा होने के नाते हेल्थ इज अ स्टेट सब्जेक्ट है तो ये गलत नहीं है सर। ये फेडरल स्ट्रक्चर है, सेंट्रल के कुछ नियम होते हैं, उन नियमों के आधार पर काम होता है, स्टेट को कुछ नियम होते हैं उन आधार पर। सर, हम ज़रूर ये कहते हैं कि हम मिलकर काम करते हैं। कोई भी सुविधा हम जब देते हैं तो हम स्टेट के हेल्प को लेके ही करते हैं। हम ऐसा नहीं कहते हैं कि हम जिम्मेवारियां को टाल रहे हैं, लेकिन सर हम एक रिस्पेक्ट से कहते हैं कि हम जो भी सर आप सर जो भी हम फाइनेंस देते हैं सर वो स्टेट को ही अलॉट होता है सर, स्टेट ने ही वो नीचे देना है सर। हमारी NHM की जो विंग खड़ी है वो स्टेट के थ्रू ही जाती है सर। लेकिन जो आदरणीय सदस्य ने महोदय ने कहा कि जो भी इनपुट्स आते हैं सर वो स्टेट से ही आते हैं, तो हम उनका भी रिस्पेक्ट करके स्टेट के साथ ही जुड़े होकर काम कर रहे हैं और अच्छा काम किया है।
माननीय रामनाथ ठाकुर।
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय। मैं आपके माध्यम से मंत्री जी से पूछना चाहता हूं कि समय सीमा के अंदर ऑक्सीजन से कितने लोग मरे, ऑक्सीजन के नहीं रहने के कारण कितने लोग मरे पूरे हिंदुस्तान में, स्टेज वाइज क्या माननीय सदस्यों को सूचना देने का काम करेंगी? धन्यवाद।
आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से ये ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी कि इसका जवाब मैंने डिटेल पहले ही जो सवाल उठाया उसमें ही डिटेल विवरण दे दिया है और लिखित रूप में भी आज के जवाब में वो दिया है। फिर भी मैं फिर दोहराती हूँ कि सर वो जो डेथ्स है जो कि टोटल रिकॉर्ड डेट्स जो कि स्टेट से आते हैं वो आज तक के हैं 5,20,358 डेथ ड्यू टू कोविड और जो कि स्टेट ने दिए हैं सर। माननीय सदस्य ने जो सवाल उठाया फिर एक बार दोहराती हूँ कि यूनियन गवर्नमेंट ने रिक्वेस्ट की थी सारे स्टेट्स यूटीज़ को कि वो डिटेल्स दे दे जो पूछा है, लेकिन आज के दौर पर 20 स्टेट्स एंड यूनिट्स ऐसे हैं कि जिन्होंने रिस्पॉन्ड किया है, लेकिन नन ऑफ द स्टेट्स एंड यूटीज़ हैव रिपोर्टेड कन्फर्म डेथ्स ड्यू टू ऑक्सीजन शॉर्टेज। जैसे ही सर हम कोई बात छिपाना नहीं चाहते या बताना चाहते, ऐसी बात नहीं है, जो भी स्टेट से आता है आपको अवगत किया जाए।
धन्यवाद। क्वेश्चन नंबर 350 डॉक्टर वी शिवदासन। डॉक्टर वी शिवदासन एब्सेंट। माननीय शांतनु सेन जी।
Sir, in the given reply regarding COVID vaccination, our health ministry has categorically accepted that we are still far away from getting all the eligible citizens vaccinated by double dose. Sir, I am not here to give discredit to the government only, as the speakers from the Treasury branch are even busy in giving credit to the present government even during this question hours. But I am here to raise a specific question. Sir, we have been listening to several promises during this COVID vaccination. We have seen there is a sharp rise of COVID vaccination on International Yoga Day. We have seen a sharp vaccination rise.
Please question, Dr.
Yeah, I am
Samshi,
coming, sir. I am
please.
coming. On the birthday of our learned Prime Minister, followed by sharp fall in vaccination. My question, which is a long-standing question in the mind of the people at large in the country, can our minister give a specific date? Because earlier I used to learn that by 31st of December 2021, all eligible citizens will be vaccinated by double dose. Forget about the booster
Please,
dose.
please
My
question.
My minister, can she give a specific date by which all the eligible Indian citizens will be
Thank you.
vaccinated by double
Thank
dose?
you.
तो उपसभापति महोदय, मैं पहले तो माननीय सांसद जी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देती हूँ कि जो चिंता का विषय है वो भी उन्होंने रखा कि वैक्सीन को लेके। लेकिन उसके पहले मैं ये ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी कि भारत का सबसे अच्छा, सबसे बड़ा वैक्सीन ड्राइव चला, जो कि दुनिया ने देखा, और जो हमारे बेनिफिशरीज है
और लैंडसेट ने criticize
Please,
उनको
please.
हमने भी
It's not
देखा।
fair.
सर, सब जर्नल्स का भी हम विवरण लेते हैं, लेकिन मैं ये बात ज़रूर कहना चाहती हूँ, अगर आज 184 करोड़ को हम लोग पार कर रहे हैं, जिसमें कि फर्स्ट डोज 97% दिया गया है, सेकेंड डोज 85% दिया गया है। लेकिन सर, उसमें भी मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि ये जो किया है हमने, ये सबको मिलके, सबके प्रयासों से हुआ है। हर एक ने अपना, आदरणीय सांसद सभी बैठे हैं यहाँ पे, सभी ने अच्छा ध्यान दिया है। हर घर दस्तक भी चला, अनेक ऐसे प्रोग्राम्स चले, मीडिया ने भी सपोर्ट किया, इसी कारण ये सक्सेसफुली ड्राइव चला। लेकिन सर, मैं कहना चाहूँगी कि ये वॉलंटरी है, जो कि हमने लिखा भी है, जो 94 करोड़ बेनिफिशरीज को हमने सामने रखा था। हमारी कमिटमेंट थी सर कि दुनिया में जो भी क्राइसिस चल रहे थे वैक्सीन को लेके, लेकिन भारत में ये नहीं होगा, भारत वैक्सीन अवेलेबल करेगा, वैक्सीन बनाएगा। वो सर कमिटमेंट पूरी कर दिया। आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में ये वैक्सीन बना भी और सभी को दिया भी। लेकिन सर, ये वॉलंटरी है। मैं माननीय सदस्यों को बहुत ही अनुरोध करती हूँ और कहती हूँ कि अगर ये वॉलंटरी है, लेकिन फिर भी हम सब जुट जाए इस मुहिम में कि सबकी सुरक्षा को लेकर हम सबके प्रयास और बढ़े, ताकि जो रहे हैं हम उनमें दे सकें।
माननीय दिग्विजय जी।
12 साल के ऊपर बच्चे व वयस्क, उनके लिए वैक्सीन आपने प्रोटोकॉल तय कर दिया। उन सभी भारतीयों को इस बात की चिंता है कि 12 साल से कम बच्चों के लिए अभी तक आपने कोई प्रोटोकॉल तय नहीं किया है, जबकि यूएसए और अधिकांश वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड और मिडिल ईस्ट ने एज 5 से लेकर एज 11 तक प्रोटोकॉल मंजूर कर दिया है और वैक्सीनेशन प्रारंभ हो गया है। मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि भारत सरकार कब इस देश के बच्चे जो 12 साल से कम है, उनके लिए कब वैक्सीनेशन प्रोटोकॉल आप तय करेंगे? क्योंकि 6 महीने के बच्चों का भी प्रोटोकॉल के ऊपर काफी काम हुआ है।
दिग्विजय जी,
आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय,
प्लीज। एक मिनट माननीय दिग्विजय जी, आप सबसे पहले लंबे समय तक सत्ता में रहे हैं। अगर प्रावधान बना दिए होते कि सबसे अधिक आप ही को सवाल मिले तो मैं कर देता। धन्यवाद। प्लीज, नथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन रिकॉर्ड नाउ।
इसमें क्या
नथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन रिकॉर्ड।
धन्यवाद भी नहीं।
प्लीज,
ये भी पार्लियामेंट्री है।
माननीय सदस्य, आप जानते हैं हर चीज में अगर आप ही मांगेंगे प्रश्न तो आपके और दूसरे सदस्यों को दूं या ना दूं, ये भी व्यवस्था आपने कर दी होती, ये भी व्यवस्था आपने की होती तो मैं धन्यवाद देता। प्लीज।
आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, जो प्रश्न उठाया गया है, ज़रूर ये बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है और सभी सुरक्षित रहे इस भावना को लेकर हम काम कर रहे हैं। इसमें बिल्कुल ही शंका जताने वाली बात नहीं है। लेकिन फिर भी मैं ये कहना चाहूँगी कि जो वैक्सीन का ड्राइव चला, जब वैक्सीन के जो भी प्रोटोकॉल्स तय हुए उसके लिए सर एक्सपर्ट ग्रुप होते हैं, साइंटिफिक एविडेंस होते हैं, ट्रायल्स होते हैं और उनके आधार पर वैक्सीन को मान्यता मिलती है। सर उन्होंने कहा कि अनेक देशों में, लेकिन उन देशों के कंपैरेटिव आज भारत ने भी दिखा दिया है कि ओमिक्रॉन की वेव आई तो हम अच्छे सेफ रहे क्योंकि अच्छा वैक्सीनेशन कर पाए। सर ज़रूर उन्होंने कहा है कि एज ग्रुप को लेके, लेकिन हम लगातार वो प्रोटोकॉल्स में जो प्रोटोकॉल्स लगे वो 60 इयर्स के हो, चाहे कोमॉर्बिड के हो या 45 इयर्स के हो या फिर अभी 15 से 18 हो या 12 से 14। सर उन्होंने कहा कि माननीय सदस्य ने कहा 12 से नीचे। सर मैं फिर एक बार ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी कि जो रिकमेंडेशंस आते हैं, जो हमारे नेशनल टेक्निकल एडवाइजरी ग्रुप होती है जो इम्यूनाइजेशन पे स्टडी करती है, विवरण देखती है, कुछ ट्रायल्स होते हैं। सर वो ट्रायल्स के जब रिपोर्ट्स आते हैं उसका वैक्सीन का क्या प्रभाव है, क्या एफिशिएंसी है, क्या उसका रिजल्ट है, उस आधार पर हम वो निर्णय लेते हैं। ये सर साइंटिफिक बेस एक निर्णय होता है, इसमें कोई कठिनाई नहीं है, लेकिन सर ये ट्रायल चल रहा है, उसके आधार पर ये काम रहेगा। मैं फिर एक बार आपके माध्यम से कहना चाहूँगी कि ये साइंटिफिक बेस
धन्यवाद
रिसर्च होती है।
डॉक्टर अशोक वाजपेयी जी, डॉक्टर अशोक वाजपेयी। साई जी।
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. Sir, in yesterday's conclave which was held at Pune, Dr. Adar Poonawalla, who has come out with the vaccine Covishield, and which proved very beneficial to to one and all, not only in India but abroad also in foreign countries. He has expressed his doubts that booster, which was necessary and which had come out, those who have taken 2 doses are due for booster, and they had come out with the schedule also. Government has also declared it, but response is very poor from the people of
Please
India.
question.
Yeah. What steps are being taken? Because to travel abroad, to take foreign tours or something, that is necessary as he has expressed his apprehensions. May I know from the Honorable Minister through you, what steps are being taken to give this widespread knowledge, or people are made aware to go for the booster?
Thank you.
Thank you.
के माध्यम से ये ज़रूर कहना चाहूँगी कि जो सवाल उठा है फिर एक बार बूस्टर डोज को लेके है, ये इसी बेस पे आधार करता है कि जो एनटैगी हमें रिपोर्ट करती है, उनके रिकमेंडेशंस आते हैं जो कि एक नेशनल टेक्निकल एडवाइजरी ग्रुप ऑफ इम्यूनाइजेशन पे काम करती है। सर उनके रिपोर्ट के आधार पर ही हम निर्णय कर पाते हैं। जैसे ही उनके रिपोर्ट्स आते हैं हम वो प्रावधान करते हैं, ना कि किसी के स्टेटमेंट पे या ना कि किसी के पक्ष में। सर हमारा काम यही है कि ये साइंटिफिक बेस रहे, और जो कि एक वैक्सीन के बाद भी कुछ प्रावधान होते हैं जो देखने पड़ते हैं, ये सभी को लेके ये काम चल रहा है। मुझे लगता है अलग अलग ग्रुप में जो भी नोटिफिकेशन निकले हैं, गाइडलाइन निकले हैं, तो वो समय पर वो रिकमेंडेशन के आधार पर ही किए जाते हैं।
धन्यवाद। क्वेश्चन नंबर 351 पर हम आए, इसके पहले माननीय सदस्यगण मैं अनुरोध करना चाहता हूं कि आप हाथ उठाते हैं, यहाँ बाकायदे हम लोग नोट करते हैं, और जब समय पूछने का आता है तो आप अगर सीट पे मौजूद नहीं रहेंगे, नंबर 1, और नंबर 2 कि अपने सीमित समय में अगर क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछेंगे दूसरों को मौका नहीं मिलेगा। माननीय से हर्षवर्धन सिंह डूंगरपुर।
क्वेश्चन
माननीय मंत्री जी।
सर उत्तर सभा पटल पर रख दिया है।
फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री।
Recently on 25th February, AIIMS institutions together have conducted an exhaustive survey and reported that warning labels have overwhelming acceptance by consumers of all strata. Is the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare considering acceptance of this study by renowned medical establishments like AIIMS, which recommended warning labels?
Thank you.
सर आदरणीय सदस्य ने जो प्रश्न उठाया है, जो लेबल को लेके है, जो फूड पैकेट्स पे आता है, तो मैं आदरणीय सदस्यों को यही कहना चाहूँगी आपके माध्यम से, सर ये रेगुलेशंस जो नोटिफाई किए हैं फूड सेफ्टी एंड स्टैंडर्ड अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया ने, जो कि कहता है कि ये रेगुलेशंस में दिया गया है कि ये लेबल पे जो न्यूट्रिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन है जो कि कंट्रीब्यूट टू रिकमेंडेड डेली अलाउंस के आधार पर परसेंटेज के माध्यम से जो कि कंज्यूमर को एक विकल्प देने के लिए बने हैं, तो वो मैंडेटरी है। और इसको सर फॉर फूड बिजनेस ऑपरेटर्स को ये लेबल फूड पैकेज के लिए देने के लिए अभी शुरू होने वाला है।
सेकंड सप्लीमेंट्री।
So I have only one supplement.
माननीय संजय सिंह।
माननीय मंत्री जी से सवाल है कि ऐसे कितने मामले आपके विभाग के द्वारा हल किए गए या कितने मामले आपके सामने आए जिन पर आपका हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट कार्रवाई करता है, कितने लोगों पे आपने अब तक कार्रवाई की, क्या इसका कोई डाटा है? क्योंकि FSSAI का लेबल लगा के बहुत सारे लोग सामान अपना बेचते हैं जो वास्तव में आपके मानकों को पूरा नहीं करता, बावजूद इसके अगर वो बेच रहे हैं तो उन पे कितनी कार्रवाई हुई? और एक छोटा सा सवाल
हो गया संजय, इसी में 2 सवाल आपने संजय जी पूछ लिया। प्लीज प्लीज।
जी ज़रूर आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से ये सदस्यों को अवगत कराना चाहती हूँ कि ये सवाल बहुत ही गंभीर है जो कि एक फूड रिलेटेड जो अडल्ट्रेशन है उसके बारे में है। और ये फूड सेफ्टी एंड सिक्योरिटी स्टैंडर्ड्स के एक्ट के तहत जो भी एक्शंस है वो लिए जाते हैं जो कि अपने मानकों पे खरे नहीं उतरते हैं, तो वहाँ पे सर स्टेट में हमारे स्टेट कमिश्नर रहते हैं, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल पर फूड ऑफिसर्स रहते हैं जो कि ये देखते हैं और तुरंत उन पे कार्रवाई भी की जाती है। आदरणीय सदस्य ने जो सवाल किया है इसके डिटेल्स, तो मैं ज़रूर ये कहना चाहूँगी कि लगातार इसमें 2019 20 21 में मुझे डिटेल्स है, लेकिन फिर भी उसमें नंबर ऑफ सैम्पल्स अगर एनालिसिस किए हैं तो लास्ट ईयर के मैं कहूँगी तो लगभग 1 लाख सैंपल को सर एनालिसिस भी किया है। उसमें जो भी है उनको कंप्लेंट के आधार पर पिनल कोड के आधार पर उनको एक्शन भी लिया है और वो स्टेट के तहत किया जाता है।
धन्यवाद। माननीय जया बच्चन जी।
मैक्सिमम कंज्यूमर्स बच्चे होते हैं और बहुत से पैकेजेस जो हैं वो जेन्युइन नहीं होते हैं, लेबल नहीं होते हैं। क्या सरकार कोई अपने एडवर्टाइजमेंट्स के थ्रू या कोई ऐसे प्रक्रिया के थ्रू जनता को अवगत कराएगी कि आपको ऐसे ऐसे जगह में जाके कंप्लेन करना है और कितने दिनों में इस कंप्लेन के ऊपर कार्रवाई की जाएगी? क्योंकि सर ये एक है मोनोसोडियम ग्लूटामेट, दिस इज फाउंड इन अ लॉट ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट्स विच इज वेरी वेरी हार्मफुल फॉर ह्यूमन लाइफ।
थैंक यू जय।
आदरणीय उपसभापति महोदय, जो भी सवाल माननीय सदस्य ने किया है तो ये एक गंभीर मुद्दा भी है, क्योंकि बच्चे लगातार कुछ खाते हैं तो उन्हें शायद पता नहीं है, ऐसे माननीय सदस्य का कहना है। लेकिन फिर भी सर हम यही कहते हैं कि जो भी रिकमेंडेशन के आधार पर जो भी स्टैंडर्ड को मेंटेन किए हुए हैं ये लेबल पे आना चाहिए, वो एक्ट के तहत मैंडेटरी है और अगर वो नहीं है तो उन पे एक्शन भी लिया जाता है। फिर भी अगर अवेयरनेस के बारे में कहा जाए तो लगातार ये अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम चलता है मिनिस्ट्री के थ्रू और हमारी फूड सेफ्टी को लेके, हाइजीन को लेके, हेल्दी डाइट को लेके, ट्रांस फैट को लेके ये अवेयरनेस किया जाता है। उसमें सर न्यूट्रिशनल इन्फॉर्मेशन की भी ये दी जाती है। फूड सेफ्टी के आधार पर जो भी इश्यूज़ है वो भी उस माध्यम से दिए जाते हैं। सर ऑनलाइन भी हम उस पर काम कर रहे हैं कि जो अवेयर करे। उसके अलावा फिट इंडिया मूवमेंट चल रहा है, ईट टू राइट मूवमेंट चल रहा है, जिसके आधार पर हम कहते हैं कि क्या खाना ज़रूरी है और जो उचित है, लेकिन जो कंप्लेंट आती है तो उसको भी हम सॉल्व करते हैं।
माननीय महेश पोद्दार जी।
Thank you, Vice Chairman Sahab. Sir, the government has replied that nutritional information requires display of nutrients, but sir, there are many harmful ingredients like fat, salt, sugar, preservatives. It is not mandatory to specify them, and the result is that the consumer doesn't know how much to consume and what is the safe limit and what is beyond the limit. Sir, I think the government wants to make the people aware. So will they review and take the comprehensive view so that a person by seeing the level can know if I am exceeding the limit? Thank you.
महेश।
सभापति महोदय, जो पहले ही मैंने कहा है कि जो भी उस कंटेंट में आता है, चाहे वो शुगर है, फैट है, सॉल्ट है, उसका विवरण उस पैकेट पे देना अनिवार्य है, जो कि हमारा फूड सेफ्टी एंड स्टैंडर्ड अथॉरिटी ऑफ लिमिटेड का जो नोटिफाइड रेगुलेशन है उसमें दिया है। लेकिन फिर भी अगर डेली अलाउंस में कितना खाना है और कितनी हमारी मार्किंग है न्यूट्रिशन की, तो उस माध्यम से ये भी मैंडेटरी किया है कि वो उस लेबल पे आए, ताकि एक विकल्प चुन सके कि इसमें क्या हानिकारक हो सकता है।
धन्यवाद। नाउ क्वेश्चन नंबर 352 ऑनरेबल KRN राजेश कुमार। माननीय मंत्री जी,
जवाब सभापति पर रखा गया। सभापति महोदय।
राजेश जी, पुट योर फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री।
Honorable Deputy Chairman Sir, first I thank you, this August House member and the ministers, because today the question is reached the serial number 7.
Thank to all. Thanks to all your colleagues.
Okay.
Please.
Sir, whether Indian agriculture sector will face the impact arising of the hostilities between Russia and Ukraine, which are the expected to push up the prices, availability of potash, a key component used in the manufacturing of the fertilizers. If so, what are the steps intended to be taken of the government?
Thank you, Rajesh.
पति महोदय, मैं आपके माध्यम से इस सभागृह को और पूरा देश के किसानों को आश्वस्त करना चाहता हूं कि पिछला साल भी भारत के किसान उर्वरक को लेकर के बड़ी चिंता थी, लेकिन माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी का नेतृत्व में समय समय पर निर्णय लेकर के भारत के किसानों को उर्वरक समय पर और सही दाम पर हमने पूरा कर दिया है। और इस साल भी आने वाला रबी और खरीफ के लिए भी भारत सरकार माननीय नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में, उनका मार्गदर्शन में पूरा आश्वस्त कर रखा है। ऐसा कोई परेशानी नहीं होगा। और कीमत, जो कीमत आज दे रहे हैं, बल्कि दुनिया में जिसका इनका फीड स्टॉक की कीमत 4 दुगना 5 दुगना बढ़ा है, लेकिन भारत सरकार प्रतिबद्ध है। जो कीमत है वही कीमत पर हम किसानों को पूरा करेंगे।
सेकंड सप्लीमेंट।
Indian Farmer Fertilizers Cooperative Organization is the largest producer of fertilizers as of now. It was under the Ministry of C&F. It is a relevant ministry. Logically, IFCO should work under the C&F ministry for better execution. Why the ministry has decided to transfer this organization to the Ministry of Cooperation?
Thank you.
उपसभापति महोदय, ये कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर ही है इफको, इसी के लिए वो सेक्टर में वो काम करती है। लेकिन भारत सरकार का दिशा निर्देशन के अंदर ही हमारा जो NBS के आधार पर जो हम प्रोड्यूसन करते हैं, वो हमारा नियम के तहत ही वो प्रोडक्शन करके हम किसानों को देते हैं। उपसभापति
धन्यवाद। माननीय कामाख्या प्रसाद तासा जी।
सर, मंत्री जी का आंसर देखा, मंत्री जी काफ़ी डिटेल से बताया है। मेरा क्वेश्चन है सर, आसाम में एक फर्टिलाइज़र फैक्ट्री है, उसका नाम है ब्रह्मपुत्र वैली फर्टिलाइज़र कॉरपोरेशन लिमिटेड। इसका यूनिट 1 और 2 बंद हो चुका है। 3 के लिए ऑनरेबल हम लोग का सरदार फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने 100 करोड़ का एक पैकेज दिया था, वो पैकेज का क्या हुआ? और 4th यूनिट जो है नहीं होने से 3rd यूनिट भी बंद हो जाएगा, क्योंकि नॉर्थ ईस्ट में EI पूर्ति जो है ये फुलफिल करता है, ये एक ही फर्टिलाइजर कंपनी है। इसका यूनिट 2 और 3 बंद हो, 1, 2 बंद हुआ, 3 के लिए 100 करोड़ दिया, उसका क्या हुआ? 4 कप।
धन्यवाद कामाख्या जी।
BVFCL का यूनिट को हम लोग नेशनल यूरिया पॉलिसी के अंतर्गत हमने 21 मई 2015 को हमने उनको परमिशन दिया है। ताकि इसके अंदर वो फिर से एक बार चालू करने के लिए इतना हम बताते सकते हैं उपसभापति महोदय।
माननीय त्रिचू शिवा जी, ऑनरेबल त्रिचू शिवा, योर क्वेश्चन इज ऑन दिस। Yes, supplementary.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. Sir, the new NUP 2015, with the objective of maximizing indigenous urea production, promoting energy efficiency in urea production, and rationalizing subsidy burden on the government. So, my question to the minister is, while rationalizing the subsidy of burden to the government, will it not be transferring it to on the shoulders of the farmers? Because already the farmers are suffering of not getting due and genuine price for the produce, but the input costs have increased. So when the subsidy has been reduced and shouldered on the burden on the shoulders of the farmers, will it not burden them? And do you consider of?
Thank you. Have put your question
Yes.
already.
Will you consider of the problems that are faced by the farmers because of the hiking the prices of
Thank you.
fertilizers?
उपसभापति महोदय, नेशनल यूरिया पॉलिसी के अंतर्गत जो मैक्सिमाइजिंग इंडिजिनियस यूरिया प्रोडक्शन, प्रोमोटिंग एनर्जी एफिशिएंसी, ये मुद्दा लेकर के हम आए थे। इसी के अंतर्गत देश के अंदर 25 ऐसे गैस बेस्ड प्रोजेक्ट हमने उसको गैस बेस्ड पर कन्वर्ट करके उनको हमने चालू किया है। इसी का नतीजे से करीब 25 से आई विल कम बैक,
Let him please listen him.
नो इशू। पिछला 14 साल से मतलब 2014 से के बाद अगर कंपेयर करें तो 20 से 25 लाख मेट्रिक टन हमने उत्पादन ज़्यादा किया है। तो सदस्य का क्वेश्चन है कि फीड स्टॉक का कीमत वगैरह बढ़ने के बावजूद ये ट्रांसफ़र जो रैशनलाइजेशन किसानों के ऊपर बोझ बढ़ेगा, किसी हालत में किसानों के ऊपर बोझ मोदी सरकार नहीं बढ़ने देता, क्योंकि BE 2021 और 22 के अंदर बढ़ने नहीं देगा। सुनिए इधर, 2021 और 22 का BE आप देख लीजिए, बजट के अंदर 83,548 करोड़ रखा था, लेकिन इंटरनेशनल मार्केट के अंदर सभी फीड स्टॉक का कीमत बढ़ने के बावजूद भारत सरकार, नरेंद्र मोदी जी का नेतृत्व वाली सरकार, उसको सब्सिडी बढ़ाते हुए आरी के अंदर 1,62,072 करोड़ रुपए हमने बढ़ा दिया, लेकिन किसानों के ऊपर हमने बोझ नहीं बढ़ा दिया। और इसी के अलावा इस साल भी हमारा बजट के अंदर पिछले साल का बजट एस्टिमेट से भी ज़्यादा पैसा रख करके 1,09,242 करोड़ माननीय नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार, माननीय वित्त मंत्री जी ने दिया। मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं। पिछले साल से भी हम लोग 25,654 करोड़ रुपए बजट के अंदर परियोजना ज़्यादा किया है। फिर भी इस साल अगर बढ़ने के बावजूद भी फिर आरी के अंदर नरेंद्र भाई मोदी जी के सरकार किसानों के ऊपर किसी हालत में बढ़ा नहीं बढ़ने देगा, ये विश्वास देता हूँ।
धन्यवाद। माननीय जयप्रकाश निषाद जी, प्लीज। माननीय जयप्रकाश निषाद जी।
सबसे पहले तो मैं इस देश के प्रधानमंत्री जी को बधाई देता हूं कि बहुत सारे उर्वरक कारखाने बंद हो गए थे, उन्होंने बना के किसानों के जीवन में खुशहाली लाने का काम किया है। माननीय मंत्री जी से मैं जानना चाहता हूं, क्या माननीय मंत्री जी बताने की कृपा करेंगे कि गोरखपुर में जो खाद कारखाना बन के तैयार है, क्या किसानों के लिए भरपूर मात्रा में उर्वरक समय से देने का काम करेंगे?
गोरखपुर पिछला फरवरी के अंदर कमीशन हो चुका है, अभी उसका प्रोडक्शन चालू है। तो निश्चित रूप में हमारा NIP और NUP के तहत जो इतना प्लांट हमने खड़ा कर रखा है, इसी के लिए आत्मनिर्भर इस उर्वरक के अंदर देश बने, इसी का एक मुद्दा लेकर के हुआ था। तो करीब करीब आने वाले दिनों के अंदर 1,04,000 लाख मेट्रिक टन यूरिया देश के अंदर बनेगा और निश्चित रूप से किसानों को हमारा इंडिजिनियस प्रोडक्शन मिलेगा।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 353, माननीय श्री GC चंद्रशेखर जी।
सर
माननीय श्री GC, प्लीज।
क्वेश्चन नंबर 353 सर।
माननीय मंत्री जी।
सर उत्तर सभा पटल पर रख दिया।
फर्स्ट सप्लीमेंट्री।
Sir, rural India doctor to patient ratio is around 1:10,900 26 as per National Health Profile 2019. In our state, Uttar Kannada district, if any emergency occurs in Sirsi Taluk, the patient has to go travel around 2.5 hours, 100 kilometers to Hubli or Shivamogga around
Manya
3.5 kilometers.
Ji, question hour is over now, please.
Sir, this is the third time, sir, it is happening like.
Now, we are taking this bill, the Chartered Accountants, the Cost and Works Accountants and the Company Secretaries Amendment Bill 2022. Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman to move a motion for consideration of the Chartered Accountants, the Cost and Works Accountants and the Company Secretaries Amendment Bill 2022.
Sir, I rise to move that the bill further to amend the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, the Cost and Works Accountants Act 1959 and the Company Secretaries Act 1980 as passed by the Lok Sabha be taken into consideration.
Honorable Minister, आप कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे?
So I'll do it to my reply.
Thank you. Motion moved. There is one amendment by Sri John Britas for reference of the Chartered Accountants, the Cost and Works Accountants and the Company Secretaries Amendment Bill 2022 as passed by Lok Sabha to a select committee of the Rajya Sabha. Member may move his amendment at this stage without any speech. Sri John Britas, Honorable John Britas, absent. So motion not moved. So now debate and Dr. L. You have 10 minutes, Hanumantayya ji.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Deputy Chairman, sir. The Chartered Accountants, Cost and Works Accountants and the Company Secretaries Bill 2021 was introduced in the Lok Sabha on 17 December 2021. It was referred to Standing Committee on 21st December and passed in Lok Sabha on 30th March 22. Sir, this bill amends the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, Cost and Works Accountants Act 1959 and the Company Secretaries Act 1980 to change the disciplinary mechanism under the three professional bodies of CA, CS and cost accountants. Sir, this bill seeks to bring more scrutiny and autonomy in the functioning of these three professional institutes, namely the Institute of Chartered Accountants, Cost Accountants and Company Secretaries of India. Sir, the statement and objects and reasons of this bill states that amendments are as per recommendations of the High Power Committee created under the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, aimed at strengthening the existing mechanism of this functioning of three institutes. Sir, now the bill makes provisions for a non-chartered accountant as per the presiding officer of the disciplinary committee, which could hamper the professional functioning of the committee. Sir, the other professional bodies like medical council or the bar council are headed by professionals who understand the nuisances of industry and bring in experience and expertise. And how would a non-CA understand the technical nuisances of the issues in front of the committee? Is my first question. Sir, the second question is, external members still decided by same institutes. Sir, I just wanted to, Section 9A, very broad coordination committee is proposed under this bill. Sir, existing mechanism is taking care of the required coordination between the institutes. Under Section 17 of the CA Act, as a non-standing committee, the coordination committee of all the three institutes already exists. And I wanted to ask, what is the purpose of making this coordination committee? This may be made as standing committee. This is my suggestion. Sir, Section 21A and 21B of this bill, 2 CAs, 3 non-chartered accountants or presiding officers will be 1 out of 3 non-CAs. Is made the provision. But the non-chartered accountants should not be the presiding officers of this disciplinary committee. The reason being, sir, it is because application of complex accounting, the functioning standards, auditing standards, code of ethics, taxation, GST, customs, money laundering, etc., required in case of professional misconduct by the CA, by the chartered accountant. So only the chartered accountant may fully appreciate these type of cases which are coming into this disciplinary committee. So I request the non-chartered accountants should not be the presiding officers of this disciplinary committee. That is my another request, sir. Sir, section 20C says any firm which has been declared from undertaking any activity or activities relating to the profession of a chartered accountant into the profession, the practice under any law, time being in force or any competent court. Sir, this section 20C, there may be a serious consequences if firms are removed. That is very, very important. So this provision should not be there, so that the one more problem in this is, these committees are, this department itself is self-funding department. Government is not spending even any amount on these 3 institutes. Their studying is independent, the students are being funded by their parents, and the committees are running under the fees collected by the students. When that is the case, the government's interference as much as possible should not be to the long way. It should be allowed, the autonomy of these bodies should be allowed, and the government also interested in allowing the autonomy of these bodies. But on the other hand, backside of the door, they wanted to enter and control all the institutes, which is not correct. Sir, as per the section 20A, register of firms has been made a separate chapter. Of course, that is okay and good. I agree with it. If the name of the firm is registered outside India, then identical or similar name should not be registered in India is the condition. Sir, how do you verify this? I wanted to know from the Honorable Finance Minister in this case, if the same name is registered outside India, many a times the Indian people who are wanted to register may not be able to get these names, so that if there is repetition, it will be disqualified. That should not be allowed, and I wanted that section has to be corrected properly. So verification of names registered outside India through one single window agency, which may lead to verification of name, may be very difficult. So we should not put people into trouble just by names. So that is what my request is. Sir, section 19(2) and 20B, in these two, in the register of members, firms inclusion of information pertaining to pendency of actionable cases. Sir, this entry of pendency of actionable complaint or information, the cases should be made only after the member or the firm held guilty by the board of director or disciplinary committee and the final order is passed. Sir, here there is a problem. During the process, if a firm or a person, his name is announced here, he will have the adverse effect. So unless the final order is passed, his name should not be published. That is another request by me. So I am requesting section 21(8) as per the bill, non-withdrawal of the complaint filed with this disciplinary directorate under any circumstances is the condition. Sir, I just wanted to ask the Honorable Finance Minister again, if anybody files a submission or files to the disciplinary directorate, if they are not allowed to withdraw their own things after the correction by them, what is the problem for the disciplinary committee is my question. Why it should not be allowed to withdraw? Sir, can we be so strict that treating these firms, treating these persons as criminals under these acts? So I sincerely request the government allowing withdrawal of the complaint filed before them must be there. It should be there because the person who has filed any complaint, filed his own cases, can be allowed to withdraw, but the bill doesn't say so. That is very, very strict and it should not be there according to me. Sir, section 21(9) says availability of the status of actionable information. Availability of status of actionable information and complaints pending before the disciplinary directorate or the board of directorate or the disciplinary committee. These only after final order is made by the BOD, which I have already said. See, unless...
Please wind up now.
I will do it, sir. Unless the board of directorate or the disciplinary committee are made available in public domain, then the firm will have the adverse effect in the public domain. Afterwards, if the case is going to be in his favor, the firm may not get any business afterwards. He may not be able to practice at all. So that is the reason I request the Honorable Minister allow these only after the final decision is done by the Board of Director. So these are my submissions under this bill, sir.
Thank you.
After correcting this bill, this can be passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next speaker is Sri Suresh Prabhu.
So thank you, sir. And I know this is in a way a very important piece of legislation, bringing amendments to some of the very important institutions, professional bodies that function in the country. As we know, when we want to accelerate the rate of growth of Indian economy, it is obvious that a main important responsibility will be that of the corporate sector. Because as the finance minister said in a budget speech, as well as reiterated it on a number of other occasions, that we must boost private investment. Besides public investment, which is really now responsible for bringing in a very good, respectable rate of growth for the Indian economy, we must have a corresponding boost from the Indian private sector, which is actually called a corporate sector. There are, of course, non-corporate sector entities as well, but major burden lies on the corporate sector. And the corporate sector's functioning, therefore, becomes very important. How do you ensure that a corporate sector which collects monies from the secondary market, from the primary market, put it back as equity or even loans, they borrow from the banks as well as from others. How do you ensure that this corporate sector functions properly? So, in a collective wisdom of this parliament, we passed a law just 2 years after the independence. Way back in 1949, when we created Indian Chartered Accountant Institute, we created subsequently Cost and Works Accountant Institute, also Company Secretary Institute. These are the three major professional bodies which have a very important role to play in ensuring that corporate sector functions properly, and they have to also make sure that their own function is also transparent. How can you guarantee that a sector which has to rely on such entities and the members who are getting the membership flowing out of the charter of these institutes, how do they maintained properly, so their functioning also has to be proper. So therefore, this is a very important legislation, I would feel, which are trying to deal with the various aspects related to these two. There are, of course, few provisions which are sought to be amended. Let me, first of all, Honorable Chairperson, I would like to disclose my interest. I am a chartered accountant by training. And I used to also practice as a chartered accountant for quite some time before, I don't know, rightly, wrongly, I decided to come into public life. And now I completed 40 years in public life, 26 years in the parliament. So I don't know, it was a right decision, wrong decision, I don't know.
For us, it's a right decision, Mr.
But
Prabhu.
I am a chartered accountant by training, that's why I want to disclose that and tell you that in that context I am speaking. So, I was asking my institute of which I am a member, that I heard that you are opposing this bill tooth and nail. I said, why are you opposing it? They said, no, I think there is some misconception, we are not opposing. So I said, where are you supporting? So I collected from them that they are almost on several points, they have accepted a proposal which was mooted by the ministry. So it's a good thing that there was a dialogue between the government and I, knowing my Honorable Minister, who I have worked for many, many years, that she will definitely consult somebody without doing anything like this, so I really appreciate it. So therefore, it is not true that Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, I cannot speak on behalf of the other two institutes because I am not a member of them, but they are not fully opposed everything that has been said in the bill. So there have been a lot of acceptance of the proposal, including determining the fee for the entry of the name in the register, powers to discipline chartered accountant firms, that is section 21A, 21B, increasing quantum of punishment, maintenance of register of firms, duration of council term, finance of the council, increasing the penalty for falsely claiming to be a member, etc., etc. So now, this is a good thing that new laws, new amendments are being proposed. The stakeholders were consulted, and therefore, in that spirit, I feel it is also necessary to understand if there are any apprehensions on the part of members of the Chartered Accountant Institute as well as other institutes. So on the first one, I think this is very important to note, is related to disciplinary action to be taken. As we know, no one can dispute the fact that every institute and every member of that institute must function in a manner which has to be firstly in accordance with the law, but also in line with the professional conduct rules that have been framed from time to time. And the regulation of that, ideally, should be self-regulation. In fact, the former president of the institute is also sitting here. So, it should be in regulation, should be such that it should be done in a transparent way, but also must inspire confidence of the society. It is true that some instances that have happened in the last several years, people are questioning about this issue. So I can understand the response, but I will only point out to my the Honorable Minister about the certain issues which are related to this. So number one, the provision related to the Constitution of Board of Discipline, which is sought to amend section 21A(1) and section 21B(1). We are trying to propose that there should be 3 non-chartered accountants besides 2 chartered accountants. I would like to just point out one important issue related to this. See, normally, the disciplinary action will be taken when there is a professional misconduct. The professional misconduct will arise out of, normally, most of the professional misconduct. There can be complaints like fighting between the partners of the chartered accountant firm. There could be issues related to certain other issues which are really speaking not professional as such, though related to professional chartered accountant firm, but not professional in that sense of the term. So what is professional misconduct largely will come out of a very important issue related to balance sheet and profit loss account, broadly you can say financial statements. Now these financial statements had to be prepared, and I was saying in context of There is another chartered accountant sitting here, Mr. Gujral. So, these statements which are prepared in case of corporate sector, particularly largely which are related to us, under the Companies Act. So there was a provision in Companies Act 1956, and when we repealed that act, we replaced it with some other new code. The provision still subsists in the same way. And what does it say? It says an auditor has to certify the balance sheet and profit loss account, the financial statements, to be true and fair. See, very important part. When you say true and fair, it is not even our intention of this legislation, our parliament, because we only passed the law. We only made the provisions about how the auditor should certify. In that we said they should certify that should true and fair. It is fair, the word fair. What is fair is a very subjective term. The fairness, if my son will think I am not fair to him, my son's friend will think his father is fair to him. What is fairness will differ from person to person. A very subjective assessment. Now my point is, if a subjective assessment is the cause of discipline, disciplinary action, in that case, let it be left to the judgment of the professionals. How can you decide the fairness of a financial statement which is so technical in nature when a non-chartered accountant can sit on judgment and decide about it? Let us look at it, sir. If there are normally, in a medical cases also, there are a lot of misconduct possible. The Indian Medical Council goes into it. But suppose if you are looking at a medical procedure, whether it was done rightly or wrongly, can it be decided by a non-medical professional? Can you tell a non-doctor to say that please tell me that whether this surgical procedure was corrected properly or not? And if it comes to judgment like this, what would be the effect of that? Suppose because I am a chartered accountant, I can say I know everything, and if I sit on judgment to decide whether that medical procedure was right or wrong and I give a judgment, what implications it will have? So I am not saying that fairness of a financial statement is important, but the fairness of these proceedings also are important. Therefore, I understand why it is proposed by the government that non-chartered accountant, but will it suffice the purpose for which it is made? Will it achieve the objective? Or it will create some unintended wrong consequences? Because when I am going to sit on judgment and say, oh no, this is wrong, what is my technical competence to decide that? And therefore, this is extremely important. There is another chartered accountant. I discovered he is a chartered accountant recently, Mr. Arun Singh. So we are very few. We are a minority. So please bear with us. So sir, I was saying that this disciplinary action to be taken, and as I said, largely it flows from financial statements. And as I said, financial statements are also certified in a way that should not be done to give an impression about a statement which is completely wrong or misleading. So what is misleading and what is wrong is actually very important. And therefore, all over the world, because this is what is the practice followed most of the countries in the world, at least the advanced ones, what is important therefore is, there has to be some sort of a codification of this. How do you make sure that true and fairness has been achieved when the balance sheet was signed by a chartered accountant or the auditor in that case? So auditing is a technical term which we use. But what is auditing really speaking? End of it, you are giving an assurance. So audit is a function which gives assurance to all those who want to rely on the statement. So it's a public statement, public document, and in case of companies, obviously it's a public document. It is available on the website of Register of Companies, anybody can access it. In case of listed companies, it is available with the stock exchanges, respective stock exchanges where you are listed. So in this case, it is very important that there is an auditing standard on auditing SA 200. What does it say? Sir, it says, overall objectives of the independent auditor and the conduct of an audit according to standards on auditing is the mother standard of all standards. And it also says that it is an assurance which is given in a way that provides reasonable assurance about the financial statement of the company. Now, what is reasonable is very important. So, there is a concept of materiality in auditing. Because when you audit companies, and Indian companies are also now becoming bigger and bigger, we have large companies, so you cannot conduct the audit of those companies unless you use the concept of materiality. Use materiality and find out whether this particular aspect is material in nature, that's why I should report on it, and therefore you can qualify the report. So even though you say it's a true and fair picture of the company, you can qualify your statement as an auditor. In that qualification, you will say something which is material in nature. So my request is, considering all these important aspects of this, while I understand why this government is thinking on these lines, but I personally feel there is a need for a serious rethink about a composition of Constitution of Board of Discipline in which no harm having an outsider, this is absolutely a part of fairness, but the numbers should not be such that we'll have non-chartered accountants outnumbering chartered accountants who are qualified to do that. And I give an example of doctors. Suppose if you sit a medical board in which you get 10 people, of which 8 are non-doctors, what would be the finding of that medical board would mean, end of the day. So I think this is something which I request the Honorable Minister, and I know I've known her for years, she's a most reasonable person, so we will definitely look into it. If not now, I'm not proposing amendment, but I'm sure over a period of time, you will definitely look into this. The second part which has just been mentioned, and this is something which I was wondering why there should not be, if under section 21(8), anybody can file a complaint against a professional body or a professional member of that body, rightly so. It has to be like that. But when you file a complaint, it should be taken to the logical end. What is logical end? The logical end would mean that the complaint should be heard by appropriate authorities, should be disposed of in a manner after probably giving even judgment on that particular process. But during the pendency of that complaint, it is always possible that you can withdraw the complaint. Sir, even in the courts, if you file a petition, the courts allow you to withdraw. Of course, you need to seek their permission. Here in this house, if I present a bill, I will seek the permission of the house, but then I can withdraw the bill. So I don't know why there should be a provision which does not allow the withdrawal of complaint. Because complaint has to be taken to logical end, I am fully agreeing. But for whatever reason, I decided to file a complaint, and then I realized that probably it was not the way it should have been filed, or the merit of that complaint I was not knowing at that particular time, whatever could be the reason. But I think there is a need to also allow the withdrawal of complaint rather than saying this. Of course, there are provisions which is trying to bring in more coordination between the three bodies. I am told there is already a coordination between the three bodies. Of course, there is a reason to bring it. I only feel that when you decide the terms of reference of these coordination committees, which is going to be chaired by the Secretary of the Corporate Affairs Ministry, should be done in a way that we must realize that there are three distinct bodies dealing with three distinct functions, though related to main sector, corporate sector, but completely different functions. And that's why in the wisdom of this parliament, we decided to have three different bodies. We never, otherwise we could have made one single body. But we realized that there is need to have three different bodies. And when we have three different bodies, coordination is always a good idea, there's nothing wrong. But making sure that this coordination will happen in a way, keeping in mind the distinct identities as well as the different role of these individual professional bodies. I think that's something, if it is done properly, would really help in a very important way. I also feel that the removal of firms, I think, Madam Minister, I would like to just bring it to your attention, something which again is an important aspect. Ultimately, if you find that a particular professional member has not done a good job and it is finally concluded, so then the end will definitely happen in the removal of his membership, rightly so, because that's the ultimate punishment you can give. Because if you feel that he's not performing his professional duties rightly, what right he has got to continue to be a member, understandable. But there are instances, because we have multiple regulators in the country. There's a capital market regulator, SEBI. There is a banking regulator, Reserve Bank of India. There is an insurance regulator, IRDA. And there are multiple regulators, even for pension fund, we are regulators of different kinds. Suppose if one of the regulators, for whatever reason, points out that there is something wrong and this firm or this member is not done a correct job, you should not then jump to conclusion immediately to remove his name from the register of members. That is what might happen, and that is something which will be unfair and even denial of natural justice. And also, in what context other regulators, because we are now creating even a disciplinary committee here. So let the disciplinary committee deciding about it is understandable and logical. But because of certain adverse findings on some other context by other regulator or other bodies, not necessarily regulators as well, if we are going to finally terminate a membership, it will be very unfair. So I'm sure that is not her intention, and therefore I'm sure you will take note of this eventually. But I know it is not your intention, I'm just pointing out to you that what would be the situation as a result of that. But coming to the very important aspect, sir, this is a time that we have a great opportunity to bring about huge increase in our service exports. So luckily, I have succeeded the finance minister as commerce industry minister, and I have known the good work that she had done, and I'm not sure I could carry forward such a good work as she did. But the huge potential for service exports, and our service exports will rise faster than merchandise exports over a period of time. And in service exports, one of the services that we can export in a significant way is this professional service which are coming from these three institutes. Whether chartered accountants, whether cost accountants, or whether company secretary institute and the members can actually bring about a huge increase in their export earnings and also create huge job opportunities. There are many possibilities that you can render these services offshore. Sir, this particular pandemic has shown that most of the work now is carried out from distant places. So just imagine in all these financial services, in auditing, in taxation. Auditing, of course, is a regulator subject because you have to do audit, you have to be registered in that particular jurisdiction. But otherwise, you can carry out such services in a very efficient way, remotely. And there offers a great opportunity for all these three professional bodies. So in that context, you must strengthen them, make them more effective, make them more efficient. And there are a number of young chartered accountants who are now wanting to be chartered accountants, despite the fact that they could see not a good chartered like me, but still they want to become chartered accountants. And I know that this is possible, that we can create huge employment opportunities for these not millions, but few lakh chartered accountants or aspiring chartered accountants. And cost accountant, company secretary, the number will be higher. So I feel, realizing this, we should keep, I'm just going to. So we'll really need to strengthen these professional bodies. I'm sure we'll take these appropriate measures along with this amendment that we are doing. We'll also work on ensuring that this potential that these particular three professional bodies hold will be exploited to the fullest. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Prabhu. The next speaker is Srimati Mausam Noor.
Thank you, sir. I rise today to oppose the Chartered Accounts, Cost and Works Accounts and Company Secretaries Amendment Bill. And I'd like to thank my party for giving me an opportunity to speak on this important bill. Sir, let me begin by pointing out on behalf of All India Trinamool Congress that something fundamental has changed in how our parliament functions. While this particular bill has been scrutinized by the standing committee, the scrutiny percentage of bills in general has fallen. So in the 15 Lok Sabha, it was 71%. In the 16 Lok Sabha, it dropped to 25%. What is the number now? In the 17 Lok Sabha, as of December 2021, it was a dismal 13%. Sir, my question is the government taking the parliament for granted? Sir, this government is not allowing the discussions on national issues which are affecting the masses, such as the burning issue of price rise. Bills such as these are important to ensure prevention of white-collar crimes and high-value fraud. But what about the loot happening to the common people today in the name of fuel price hike?
We are discussing cost and chartered
It's a shameful
accountant.
burden on their livelihoods.
Speak on the bill. Speak on the bill.
Shameful that we as their elected representatives are prevented from speaking on it in Parliament. Sir, I would like to state the grounds on why I rise to oppose this bill. Sir, number one, this amendment bill proposes a radical change in the composition of the bodies which regulate the functioning of important members of the financial sector. This bill proposes the presiding officer of disciplinary boards formed be a government nominee and not a member of the institutes. In case an additional board is formed by any of the three committees, the presiding officer and one of the two members must not be members of the institute and will be chosen from a roster of people provided by the government. So not only does this allow for non-sector experts to influence the functioning of an industry-specific institute, but also gives the union government the power to interfere in the matters of a trade body. This is in direct contradiction to one of the government's favorite achievements, ease of doing business. What happened to the 2014 promise of minimum government and maximum governance? The inclusion of non-domain experts into the body and as the president is detrimental to both quality and morale. While there has been instances of accounting fraud, bringing in an outsider to regulate the sector may lead to situations where the outsider has no expertise and is unable to understand and suitably check fraud. So my second point would be the bill does not address the issue of ICAI whimsical censoring. Sir, in the recent past, ICAI has used the penal provisions to arbitrarily censor the content that some chartered accountants posted on social media. So the new bill does not address this issue. A suitable middle ground must be reached between the need to regulate by the government and prevent outreach by the members and the need for domain expertise in regulating such a technical field. In other technical institutions, such as the Bar Council of India too, the members are from the field. The government, however, seems to be making a habit of stepping into expert fields as it has done with the National Medical Commission. While government nominated members can provide requisite regulatory oversight, there must be a way of ensuring they are people with the necessary domain expertise. So the third point, the bill provides for disclosure of pending complaints or actionable information against members and firms. Disclosing details of pending complaints before finding guilt may tarnish their professional reputation and goes against the first principles of grievance redressal that complaints be evaluated and acted upon in a free and fair manner. Any premature disclosure is not only against the judicial decision-making process, but also an open invitation to unethical interference. We can't be living in a country where we shoot first and ask questions later. We live with the rule of law, where people are presumed innocent until proven guilty. This should apply in financial cases as much as in criminal cases. Sir, I would like to end with one last comment. The ICAI has criticized the Chartered Accounts Act 1949 for leaving the definition of other misconduct open-ended, calling this terminology vague. The present amendment does not address the ambiguity of this definition. If anything, the proposed changes widen the scope of said ambiguity, as any matter could easily be categorized as misconduct, and now the government's nominees are in the body to nudge it towards taking this interpretation. The absence of clearly defined parameters coupled with the government's presence within the institute could set a dangerous precedent for obscure and intrusive functioning. Sir, I conclude by asking the center what really is the policy: minimum government and maximum governance, or maximum government and zero governance? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. The next speaker is Sri P. Wilson.
Thank you, Chairman, sir. Sir, I first of all thank that the bill is debated, because whenever a bill is passed without any debate, it is called as a black letter law. The Honorable Chief Justice of India has deprecated these types of practices, that bill being passed without any debate, and therefore I thank you, sir, for debating on this bill. Sir, this bill brings in amendments to 3 principal acts, namely the Chartered Accountants Act 1949, the Cost and Works Accountant Act 1959, the Company Secretaries Act 1980, and the major amendment is the revamping of the Board of Discipline and Disciplinary Committee under these acts. Sir, no doubt I would first of all appreciate Honorable Finance Minister that the intention is to finish the disciplinary proceedings in a time-bound manner. But in this amendment bill, there are a lot of infirmities which I would like to place before this august House. Sir, the bill seems to curtail the role of the professionals and the elected representatives of the governing council in each of the professional institutes, in the disciplinary bodies and in the disciplinary matters. Sir, first of all, I would say clause 21(8) says that you can't withdraw a complaint given to a body. Sir, my question is, how can you prevent a person from withdrawing the complaint? You can't compel a person to prosecute a complaint which is not interested in it. Therefore, sir, this is going against the well-settled legal principles. Sir, there are 2 disciplinary bodies, namely Board of Discipline, which acts as a disciplinary authority in case of misconducts falling under the first schedule, and is empowered to impose minor penalties like censure, temporary suspension up to 6 months, and fine of rupees 1 lakh, and which is now increased to 2 lakhs under the amendment bill. The other disciplinary authority, sir, is the disciplinary committee, which deals with the second schedule misconducts and is capable of imposing punishment not only restricted to censure, but permanent removal or removal for any specific period, and impose fine which may extend to 5 lakhs, which is now increased to 10 lakhs under the amendment bill. Sir, reading of clause 22 of the bill shows that the Board of Discipline constituted under the original section 21A is now substituted with a new provision wherein it is revamped. Earlier, the Board of Discipline had 3 members, wherein all of them could be the members of that institute of the same profession. Out of the 3 members, 2 would be nominated by the council, including the presiding officer, and 1 by the union government. Sir, in the amendment bill, the present Board of Discipline under clause 22 will have only 1 member nominated by the council, and other 2 members should not necessarily be the members belonging to the institute. Thus, the lay persons are brought inside this disciplinary committee. Sir, what they have to do with this professional body, sir, that too in disciplinary matters. Sir, the presiding officer of the Board of Discipline will now be a non-member. He is a lay person. Thus, the professional or the members of the institute is reduced to 1 in the Board of Discipline, which is empowered to impose minor punishment. Furthermore, the power to nominate the other 2 non-members is given to the central government, reducing the work of the council to the status of preparation of the panel alone. Under the amendment bill, the union government, by nominating 2 out of 3 persons, assumes the bureaucratic control over the Board of Discipline of all the 3 professional bodies of respective councils, and the Amendment Act enables the same. Sir, will it not compromise the independency of these professional bodies? What the central government has to do with these professional bodies? Honorable Union Minister has to explain with regard to this. Sir, insofar as clause 23 is concerned, it deals with the disciplinary committee. Sir, section 21B is now substituted with the new provisions. Under this clause, the elected president or a vice president of the council who was acting as the presiding officer are now removed from the disciplinary committee altogether, and the committee is now taken over by lay persons who are non-members of the councils. He will now be nominated by the central government, and he will be acting as a presiding officer. Apart from this non-member, there will be 2 other non-members nominated by the central government. By virtue of the amendment bill, council can only nominate 2 of its members. Thus, sir,
Conclude
out
now.
of 5
Conclude
members,
now.
sir, 2 minutes, sir. Thus, out of 5 members, only 2 members shall be the professionals, and other 3 will be the non-members, non-professional members who are lay persons nominated by the union government. Sir, on the contrary, in the Principal Act, all 5 members, including the president or vice president, shall be a professional and shall be the member of that institute. Thus, sir, the number of professional persons are reduced
Thank
in
you.
the disciplinary
Thank you,
committee.
Mr.
Sir,
Wilson.
2 minutes,
Thank
sir.
you very much.
2 minutes, sir. 2 minutes, sir.
No,
Sir,
no.
this discipline-
Your
1
time
minute,
is
sir.
over.
1 minute,
I
I'll
have given
finish.
you said
1 minute, sir.
2
I'll
minutes,
finish
I have
now.
given
I'll conclude,
2 minutes
I'll conclude,
more.
sir.
Now you have no time.
I'll
Please
conclude,
conclude.
sir.
Please conclude.
Sir,
I'll call
my
the other
question is-
speaker.
Sir, my question is, how can a disciplinary body with a majority of members being lay persons nominated by the union government can deal with the allegations of the misconduct which involves a high degree of technicalities owing to the profession? Why should the central government control these disciplinary bodies, and why is that the central government is
Thank
poking
you.
its nose into
Thank
these
you.
bodies?
The next speaker
Only
is
last,
Sujit Kumar.
Sir, last, sir, only one
Shri
point.
Sujit Kumar.
Sir, 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Your,
Sir,
your
1
time is
minute. Sir,
over.
the-
Nothing will go on record now. I have called the next speaker. Please take your seat. Please take your seat. Mr. Kumar. Please take your seat, Mr. Kumar.
Sir, I, on behalf of my party, Biju Janata Dal, stand to support the amendment bill, which has been brought to revamp the working of the 3 professional bodies. In a reply in Lok Sabha, the Honorable Finance Minister has asserted that this amendment bill will not infringe on the autonomy of these 3 institutes, and I have no reason to doubt her assertions. Rather, sir, I feel the amendments will make these 3 bodies more accountable and enable them to adopt global best practices and also reform and speed up the disciplinary mechanism of these institutes. Sir, the disciplinary track record of at least one of these institutes, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, has come under the scanner in recent months, and no less than the Honorable Prime Minister has flagged it once at the time of launch of the GST. Sir, the statement of objects and reasons of the bill states that it seeks to address the conflict of interest between the administrative and the disciplinary arms of the institutes. To achieve this, the bill proposes to change the composition of the 2 disciplinary entities, the disciplinary board and the committee, to allow for more external representation. Sir, here I would like to very respectfully disagree with my former speakers, very erudite and very learned speakers, Suresh Prabhu ji, Honorable Member Hanumantia ji, and also Mr. P. Wilson, who have apprehensions that non-CS should not be members of the disciplinary committee, and they have argued how can such a technical subject as accountancy be understood by non-CAs. Sir, very respectfully, I disagree with them. This is akin to saying that only a chartered accountant is competent to understand matters of disciplinary proceedings, because disciplinary proceedings by very nature are non-adversarial in nature, and they are based on the principles of natural justice. So, sir, if a doctor If a person who is not a doctor can make a good health minister, if a person who is not an electrical engineer can make a good power minister, why can't a non-CA be part of the disciplinary committee? Because it's at the end of the day based on principles of natural justice. Sir, the bill also seeks to achieve speedy disposal of cases by providing for time-bound disposal of cases. Sir, the Parliamentary Standing Committee, which had deliberated this bill at length and applied its mind, has also supported the amendments. I will thank Honorable Suresh Prabhuji, because we had read in media that the ICAI had raised serious objections to the amendments, but he has clarified that it's not the case. But both ICSI and the Cost Accountants Institute do not have any objection. So the Parliamentary Committee also has suggested setting up of Indian Institutes of Accounting, IIAs, on the lines of the IITs and IIMs. Sir, I think it's an innovative idea which should be explored by the government, because it will end the ICAI's statutory monopoly over certification. It will also, sir, bring in greater competition and also greatly enhance the quality of accounting education in our country. I think this will also make the profession of accounting more inclusive, because more people can join IIAs if they are set up. Sir, the bill increases certain fines under the 3 acts. So now if a partner or an owner of a firm is found repeatedly indulging in some misconduct, then disciplinary action can be taken against the firm. Sir, another welcome step is to change the nomenclature of Cost and Work Accountants Act 1959 to Cost Accountants Act 1959, and also to rename the Institute of Cost and Works Accountant to Institute of Cost Accountants. Sir, I'm not sure why the word work was included in the first place, but anyway, it has been omitted now.
Please, Honorable Speaker, please wind up now. Please wind up.
Sir, I'm concluding. Sir, the firms can also now, firms must also now register with the institutes. Sir, this will enable the disciplinary mechanism also for the firms. Sir, I think, sir, these 3 acts were enacted decades ago, when the business and the corporate landscape of the country was much different and has transformed quite a bit now. So, sir, I think the need for this amendment is very much there, and also recent corporate events like the ILNFS case has put the profession of chartered accountancy under a serious scrutiny. So, sir, I think these amendments will certainly improve the administrative accountability and governance mechanism, and also help in the ease of doing business process, and also help, sir, in achieving India reach the target of the $5 trillion economy that we have been talking about. So I support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Sujit Kumarji. The next speaker is Ayodhya Rami Reddy.
I believe this bill, the Chartered Accountants, Cost and Work Accountants and Company Secretary Bill 2021, is a blatant attempt to take away the autonomy of these 3 professional institutes. By bringing these amendments, the Centre is setting up a precedent that could negatively impact the independence of other professions as well. Sir, we have few objections on the proposed changes under this bill. Objection number 1, a non-standing committee under Section 17 of a similar nature already exists, and measures should be made to make it more formal. Chairmanship by Secretary of Ministry will intrude on autonomy and independent decision making. But Ministry says that the Standing Committee has no specific terms and is informal. But this committee can be made formal. The other point is the Discipline and Disciplinary Committee. The objection is a non-member will not have in-depth understanding of the accounting and auditing standards and practices. But I must tell my friend Sujit, where he was telling, see, there are business functions and there are support functions. To support business, I think the support functions like chartered accountants, cost and work accounts, and company secretary must have the basic knowledge at a leadership level as a minister or beyond, or a secretary. There it is different. Because there, somebody prepares the notes and everything for you. But here, you have to really get into the details. So for that, certainly business knowledge is essential to support, as a support, CAs and all, these are all support functions of the business. So I believe the in-depth knowledge and understanding is a must. So that one point that we have an objection on that. The conduct of professionals should be judged by professionals only, is what we believe. Then there are more chronic problems in judiciary. If you look at the government, by amending the CA bill, wants independence of adjudication of disciplinary proceedings, then this problem is more chronic in judicial system, which has more far-reaching consequences and even a threat to democracy. Judges are appointed by a group of judges, judges are transferred by a group of judges, and also promoted by a group of judges. And even framing of charges against an errant judge shall be done by judges according to Judges Enquiry Act 1968. So my submission is, the government is reforming the disciplinary committees of chartered accountants and also doctors, why not judges? Also, till date, no judge of the High Court or the Supreme Court has been impeached. And even the CBI has to seek sanction of the concerned High Court if it has to proceed even against a retired judge. Where is the fairness here? Then coming back to the liability of firms for misconduct of partner, clarity is needed on many issues. Repeatedly found guilty, not defined. If a person is a partner in more than one firm, whether all firms are liable, then if all partners of a single firm are found guilty of misconduct, but not repeatedly, will action be taken against the firm? Whether it is applicable in case of limited liability partnership, and if so, it would be unlawful to conduct whole firm or for misconduct. Action against entire firm will cause hardship to all other partners and employees who are faultless.
Please wind up.
Yeah, final, sir. Just similar way for, suo moto proceedings. The bill disallows disciplinary directorate to make investigations to suo moto without any precondition of reason to believe. So this unfettered power can be abused for ulterior purposes. Disclosure of pending complaints. In the similar way, the bill provides for disclosure. This will harm the reputation of the person if tomorrow it comes to know that he is not found guilty. Member of disciplinary committee. Here also the disciplinary committee consists of external members who are nominated by central government. The disciplinary committee also has non-professional members. You need to look at. So
Thank you.
The conclusion, sir, as a business person who has the knowledge on chartered accountants, company secretary and cost account, I conclude by saying that the CA fraternity is being singled out, whereas other professions with even more glaring problems remain untouched.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. The next speaker is M. Thambuduraji.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, sir. As other members previously said, the persons who are not knowing a chartered accountant, whether they can deal all these things. Sir, I was also holding this ministry, company affairs, 98, 99. I am not a chartered accountant. But still I am the minister for this concerned department, I know that. At that time, I visited many conferences conducted by this Chartered Accountant Association, and a cost has attended many conferences. They requested so many demands, what to do and what are things. Here, with a good intention, our government has brought such amendments. Because already former finance minister, Mr. Chidambaram, raised when Madam was here discussing a finance appropriation bill at that time. Where is the confidence of the private investors in the country? See, to create the confidence of the private investors only, this chartered accounts has to be regularized. That is more important. Because some members raised concern about that, if at all you are entering in the autonomy of this thing, what will happen? Dr. Hanumataya said, see, whatever the rules we are bringing, to regularize only the Parliament is bringing, not any intention to interfere or belittle them. That is not our intention. Sir, here also, some of the proposals already been accepted and legal changes are being undertaken in consult with the institutions. The institutions already accepted and consulted by the government. They are accepted the amendments, certain things that it is brought up. Sir, and also there was a demand from the Institute of Cost Accounts of India. When I was minister at that time, they used to come and meet me. They have to be treated along with the chartered accountants. That kind of thing they are demanding. But most of the things always conflict is that chartered accounts and cost accountants, this association, that has to be sorted out. That is I am requesting Honourable Minister, she will take up that issue. This is very important, sir. And also, sir, even the Prime Minister, the disciplinary track record of ICAE had come under the scanner a few years ago, with even the Prime Minister flagging it at the time of the launch of goods and service tax. So this is even Prime Minister aware of all these things. Our cabinet, all the cabinet knows that what is going on. Therefore, with the good intention, government has brought this kind of amendment. Therefore, I appreciate and welcome that. I support this bill, support the amendments brought by the Honorable Finance Minister. As former Minister for the company, we are supporting this. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Bisambar Prasad Nisad.
धन्यवाद उपसभापति महोदय इसके पहले मैं आज चूँकि त्रेता के संगमेरपुर के महाराजा निषाद राज गो की आज जयंती है, मैं इस मौके पर सभी देशवासियों को बधाई देना चाहता हूँ। आज मंत्री जी सदन में चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट कास्ट एंड वर्क अकाउंटेंट तथा कंपनी सेक्रेटरी संशोधन बिल लाई हैं। अब जब ये धरातल पे आएगा तब पता चलेगा सच्चाई क्या है। मानो इन्होंने सेक्शन 9A में संशोधन किया है और चाहते हैं कि भारत सरकार का सचिव नियुक्त हो। काउंसिल पहले से है जिसमें केंद्र सरकार के 8 नामी होते हैं, तो इसकी क्या ज़रूरत थी। मनोहर देश में 3,41,000 करीब सीए हैं, 7 लाख विद्यार्थी हैं। आज हम देख रहे हैं कि जब परीक्षाएं हो रही हैं, चाहे सीए की तमाम परीक्षाएं, उत्तर प्रदेश में तो सारी परीक्षाओं के पेपर लीक हो रहे हैं। तो जिस तरह से हो रहा है और इसमें एक संशोधन इन्होंने किया 21A 21B में संशोधन करना चाहते हैं। मानवर इस परिप्रेक्ष्य में जो दृढ़ नियामक संस्थान न केवल देश की कंपनियों को सुचारू रूप से चलाने में सहायता करता है बल्कि देश की जनता के धन को घोटालों से भी बचाते हैं। लेकिन भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था धोखाधड़ी और घोटालों से अछूती नहीं रही है। बड़े बड़े घोटाले देश के अंदर हुए हैं, चाहे वो यूपीए की सरकार रही हो, चाहे एनडीए की सरकार हो। इस सरकार के सत्ता में आने से पहले हुए हर्ष मेहता सिक्योरिटी स्कैम 1992, ट्राइस और इंडिया लिमिटेड स्कैम 1975-76, द ग्लोबल ट्रस्ट बैंक, केतन पारिक स्कैम्स 2001, सत्यम कंप्यूटर्स लिमिटेड 2008, रैनबैक्सी लेबोरेटरीज स्कैम 2008, नेशनल स्पॉट एक्सचेंज लिमिटेड।
निषाद जी बिल पर बोलिए, डिस्कशन दूसरा है, आप दूसरे बोल रहे हैं।
नहीं, वही बता रहे, तमाम जो घोटाले हुए मानो
आप बिल पर बोले
तो इसे बता रहे हैं ना। तो ये जो माननीय मंत्री जी लाई हैं, तो चूंकि आधा अधूरा लाई हैं, इसमें हम चाहते हैं कि इसमें जो गलतियां हैं वो सुधर जाए, सिलेक्ट कमेटी को चला जाए। तो जो उसमें हमारे सदन में जो है करीब 6 मेंबर सीए हैं, सब लोग उसके सिलेक्ट कमेटी के मेंबर रहें, तो उसमें जांच लें। नहीं, बाद में तमाम कठिनाई आती हैं, बाद में फिर बिल में संशोधन करना पड़ता है। तो माननीय मंत्री चाहेंगे कि इसको सिलेक्ट कमेटी में भेज दिया जाए। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद। द नेक्स्ट स्पीकर इज जॉन ब्रिटस। योर टाइम इज 3 minutes. Everyone.
Sir, I stand to oppose the bill, and I think that after having heard Suresh Prabhuji, Honorable Finance Minister would be contemplating to withdraw the bill, because a ruling party member has firmly put across the objections towards this bill. Though Mr. Thambidurai is supporting the minister without having any portfolio in the government, I don't know why the government should pursue with this bill, because cutting across party lines, there have been opposition to this bill. Sir, I have gone through the speech of the Honorable Finance Minister in the Lok Sabha. There are certain aspects which she tried to emphasize. One is that she wants to make the pillars of corporate governance more important. That is one of her articles in her speech. Second is to in line with the global standards. And she also confides, or rather reiterates, saying that she doesn't even have a faint intent to dilute the autonomy of these institutions. These are the cardinal points on which she actually spoke in Lok Sabha, apart from saying that she doesn't have any interest in the money of these organizations. Sir, I feel that there is a method in the action of the government. They want to dilute the autonomy of every organization in this country. Already they have finished off many constitutional institutions. Now, these are institutions, autonomous institutions, which are of repute and functioning more or less properly. But the government wants to control these organizations. I really want to know whether it is to uphold the governance or to ensure the control or interference. So there is a committee that has been made. That is a coordination committee under the chairmanship of the Secretary of MCA. Madam, already in this council, there are 8 members nominated by the government. And I would submit with the finance minister, she should at least ascertain the presence of these government nominees in the present council. Sir, I can even point out that the joint secretary of MCA, his attendance would be less than 10%. So they have not shown any interest to enrich the governance of these bodies. And they think that bringing bureaucrats is a panacea for the ills. That is where the government is going to err. Honorable Finance Minister was a free thinker when she was a student. And I really want her to, look at the, I would say, the opinions that have been expressed from different parties. Sir, there has been a mention about the government not being interested in the money. Is it not a fact that these institutions put together contributed something like 28 crores for the PM Care Fund? Is it not a fact? Was there a coercion from the government, from the secretaries? And is it also not a fact that her own department, Income Tax Department, has served a notice
Please
for
wind
one
up
of these
now.
institutions for diverting 8 crores to PM Care Fund, flouting the norms? So there are so many issues. I would certainly urge upon the government that if at all they are interested to protect the autonomy of the organization, they need to enrich the autonomy instead of trying to creep it and also interfere with the functioning of this organization. Sir, just now a report has come that only 8% of the autonomous organizations submit their periodic audit reports. 8% only. 92% of the central organizations, approximately 400 in number, they don't even submit their audited reports. The government is not interested in that. The government is interested in these.
Thank you, Mr. Vitas. Your time is over. I have given you 1 minute more. It's over now.
1 minute, sir.
It's
Just
over.
1 minute.
Please
Sir,
conclude. I'll
sir,
call the next speaker.
Just see the amount at the disposal of these organizations. 2,499 crores for the Institute of Chartered Accounts of India. And for Institute of Cost Accounts of India, 359 crores. And Institute of Company Secretaries, 885 crores. You want the bureaucrats to interfere and interrupt?
Thank you.
Is that what
Thank
the
you.
government wants? I really wish that Suresh Prabhu's counsel
Thank
prevails
you.
over the Honorable
Sri Anil Desai.
Thank you, Vice Chairman, sir. Thank you for allowing to speak on this Chartered Accountants, Cost Accountants and Company Secretaries Amendment Bill 2022. Sir, ICAI Act 1949, which governs the activities of the Chartered Accountants in India, is a 73 years old organization, and under the autonomous status which was granted to it, has been working efficiently in its sphere of activities and discharging its obligations quite deftly. And under the present mechanism, there are government nominated members on the council, 8 are there. May I know from the Honorable Minister what feedback the government has received regarding their work record in discharging their responsibilities as of today? You may get an insight on their work performance. So what changes government intends to bring in by appointing more non-CA members in different bodies? In respect of constitution of Board of Discipline and formation of disciplinary committee, the main objection being raised by the Chartered Accountants is about appointing non-chartered accountants, non-cost accountant and non-company secretary as the presiding officer of the disciplinary committees of the respective bodies. So their contention is that this amendment will damage it because conduct of professionals like CA or ICWS or company secretaries should be judged by the professionals of the similar nature. Similarly, coordination committee which is off day, that is presently it is in the shape and it is doing its job quite fairly, then what is the necessity of bringing about one more or formation of a new coordination committee? Secondly, sir, government has already set up NFRA, that is National Finance Reporting Authority, to oversee the auditing profession and accounting standards in India. In 2018, it was formed, and it has the powers to investigate professional misconducts of chartered accountants for listed companies and non-listed companies also. Sir, today, more than 10,000 chartered accountants have been rendering free of charge, that is honorary services in looking after the affairs of this chartered accountants institution. To get into new mode, government will be making it have more expenses for that. Where would the extra expenditure would come? And that would run into crores of rupees. So only an option is that I think by revising the fee structure or registration members, the CA students will be burdened to that to meet this expenditure. So another important aspect of the bill is that proposed setting up of an Indian Institute of Accounting, IIA, in various parts of India. Sir, IIAs will offer 5 years degree course and all that, and they will be given certificate as CAs, CPAs, and they will be given, they will be able to practice like chartered accountants. But what is the logic behind it when we have such a finest of 3 professional institutes like they are autonomous in nature too? Then what is the purpose? Will it not create multiple of institutions? Will it not create more confusion? Will it not complicate the whole process? So these are the things, and to set up IIM like institute, 350 crores around, that is the expenditure. This is hard-earned money of the taxpayers. So why would we go for this kind of expenditures where already mechanism and infrastructure is there in place? So multiple institutions will definitely create confusion. So, Honorable Minister, Honorable Finance, just 2 minutes I'll take.
Please wind up. We have some time constraints. Please understand, Honorable Member.
So,
we have some time
Finance
constraints.
Minister had mentioned in Lok Sabha in a reply that big four international auditors, like we have Deloitte, we have KPMG, we have Ernst & E&Y, we have PwC is there, and we do not have the matching size of our chartered accountants firms at this stage. With this legislation in place, that will definitely. Let me complete, sir.
Thank you.
Hardly we get some time.
Please conclude.
If we are not given chance to make our point, I mean, what is the?
Please conclude now.
Please give me 2 minutes. I'll just finish.
I'm sorry. Because
with this legislation in
3
place,
minutes for every speaker. You have already crossed 3 minutes.
But we should
now
not
please
forget
conclude.
that in the past, whatever big
next speaker.
frauds have taken place, these very firms, these auditors were responsible for it. We do agree that in our system also there are wrongdoers, there are exceptions, but there are provisions in the law which take care of them, which punish them. But it should not be so that just on the suspicion, the chartered accountants or the cost accountants should be taken off their licenses.
Thank you, J.K. Vasan.
Sir, ek second. Last point.
I have called J.K. Vasan.
Last.
Please sit. Please be seated. I have given you more time. Please, J.K. Vasan. Please. Sir. Yeah, please.
It should come.
This will not go on record. Please.
Sir, it should come on record now, whatever I say. He talks.
On record. Please.
Sir. Sir. Sir, 3 premier institutions in the country, ICA, ICWAI and ICSI. Professionals from these institutions enjoy a lot of independence and accountancy. However, sir, at the same time, there have been instances when they have come under the influence of their own clients. Hence, the need of this legislation to regulate these professions have become very much necessary. 3 important points, sir, I would like to quote. One, about the amendment. The bill sets out specific time limit for disposal of inquiries by the Board of Discipline and the Disciplinary Committee. Number two, sir, the second point is about disciplinary action against CA firms. This is accountable for the firms and lapses for their professional misconduct. The third point is about setting up a coordination committee, sir. The committee will have an important role in overseeing the development and harmonization of these three premier institutions. It also provides specific functions, sir, for the coordination between the committees, sir. Overall, sir, I feel the amendment bill is very timely in setting up an institutional mechanism to ensure that the professionals in the field of accounting and corporate secretaryship and also institutions themselves to maintain the highest standards of performance and ethics for all time to come. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Vasant. The next speaker is K. Ravindra Kumar. Not present. The next speaker is Naresh Gujral.
Sir, the government is rightfully very keen to ensure total transparency and accountability in these three institutes. Sir, as our economy has grown in recent years, so have the frauds in the corporate sector, whether it's banks or corporates or exchanges. And there is a view that a lot of these frauds could have been prevented had the chartered accountants been more vigilant, and these auditors are to be blamed. And I fully support the government that those who were responsible for it must get punished expeditiously, and the punishment should be very strong so that it serves as a deterrent to other chartered accountants in this country. Sir, in fact, I feel this should be a wake-up call for the institutes. They have been lax. They have taken a long time in trying to discipline their members, and I do hope that they will now also start looking inwards. Sir, however, it would be wrong to blame only the CAs for the corporate frauds that have taken place. It has been done with the connivance of the board of directors of these companies. I would say in many, many cases, whether it was SEBI or whether it was RBI, the regulatory framework had failed our country, and that also needs to be looked at very, very expeditiously. Sir, obviously, this bill, in order to discipline the CAs and others, is bringing in disciplinary boards. And many of my distinguished colleagues have spoken about it, including Mr. Prabhu. I don't want to be repetitive. All I can say is, sir, that when you have 5 members in this board, I would urge the Honourable Minister to make it a balanced board and make it 6. And the chairman should be somebody who's proficient with the subject, somebody who has domain knowledge of this subject. And I would urge you, madam, that even if you appoint the deputy CAG as the chairman, I think everybody would be satisfied because there will be some domain expertise there. So I hope that the government would relook at it and make sure that, like the medical councils or like the law council, the CAs also receive their due justice. Sir, in the end, I would say that the Honourable Minister has been working very hard to bring in ease of doing business in this country. But one minor point which I have brought up before also has probably escaped her notice, which in regard to the company secretaries. Sir, there is a strange law in this country that if you have a company with a paid-up capital of 10 crores, earlier it used to be 5 crores, then whether this can be a holding company, for example, there is a 10 crore company which owns one flat in Delhi or Bangalore or wherever, does no other business, but by law, it is supposed to have a company secretary full-time on its rolls. I don't understand the logic behind it. So I do hope that the minister would relook at it and change this and link it with turnover. If the company has a turnover of 10 crores, 50 crores, 100 crores, you can decide. But to have a full-time company secretary sitting idle the whole year makes no sense at all. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gujarat. The next speaker is Narayan Das Gupta.
Thank you, sir, for allowing me to speak on amendment bills on account of Chartered Accountants Act 1949, Cost and Accountant 1959, and the Companies Act 1980. Sir, because I had the opportunity and privilege to head this Institute of Chartered Accountants, I know from the day one when the institute came into being in 1949 under an Act of Parliament. That was and even before the Constitution came, Constitution of India, that was adopted on 26 November 1949. Before that, I would like to share with this august house the history of this institute. It came with this idea that because there was a deficit of trust in the financial statements, that's why there was a debate in the Parliament, and this responsibility was given to the institute with total autonomy in terms of this was an autonomous body in all respects. Even, sir, the expenses in today's date, we have on record around 340,000 members, 7 lakh students. In that way, 1 million, a family of 1 million members we have in today's date. And the responsibility which were given, whether it is accounting standard, audit standard, quality of the audit, or the disciplinary mechanism, that is a very robust system in the institute. As far as examination is concerned, for the last 74 years, we are conducting examinations, and at no point of time there was any complaint of any leakage of the papers, as per the requirement. Second thing, sir, for the members of I will just give the background of that. In today's date, this institute is working through the council, elected body. 32 members are elected from the 5 regions, and 8 are nominated by the Government of India. Through this process, it is working. There is a representation from the Ministry of Company Affairs. There is a representation from the CAG, representation from the other government department that is working. And now the disciplinary mechanism also. There is a two-tier system, disciplinary board and disciplinary committee. Board decide whether there is a prima facie guilty or not. And if he found prima facie guilty, matter is referred to disciplinary. I would like to share with this august house, for the last 75 years, whatever decisions have been taken by the disciplinary, they have been subject to the scrutiny of the tribunal, High Court, Supreme Court, and hardly any decision has been reversed. This is because of the robust system in place in the institute. I don't think why there is a need of changing. As our Thambudrai, our colleague in the house, he said he was a minister for the Ministry of Company Affairs, but he was not a chartered accountant. Why not? Sir, can a non-judicial person preside over any judicial proceedings? This is a question minister can become, but we cannot compare that way. Sir, I have just to submit that. Now, there are amendment 1A, 9A of this Amendment Act. They say coordination committee. What is the need of this coordination committee? When there is a council, there are members, 8 members of the government nominees, similarly in disciplinary committee, and there are more than 40 committees of the institute, where in each committee there is representation from the government. From the apex body, business apex body, there is there. That way this is a system.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta.
Pardon, sir, because these amendments which have been proposed, coordination committee, disciplinary mechanism, these are not required. The institute is known for its independence, its integrity, its excellence. This is a tinkering with the independence of the institute. I will request the Honorable Minister through you, sir, that if the amendments are not required at all, I am not going individually amendment. And if there is because we are here, 6 members chartered accountant in this house, I will request. This matter may be referred to the select committee. This is what I will say.
Sir Charles Darwin, the father of modern science, has said, it is not just the species that is the fittest that survives, but what survives most is the species that is the most responsive to change. Sir, as a rule of nature and as a responsible opposition, we are certainly responsive to change and reform, sir. It must be remembered always, and it is also true, that like civilizations, governments and oppositions, laws and legislations also evolve out of the shortcomings that must have remained earlier, or the mistakes that may have been made earlier, or as per needs of the hour. Sir, the intent to reform and to increase accountability is definitely welcome. Coming from a dynamic and highly capable finance minister who has a good grip over her subject, there is little scope to disagree. But there is definitely scope for suggestions and raising a concern or two without going into repetition. More important is that the concerns of all stakeholders need to be addressed before going further, sir. The views of the ICAI and the view of the Standing Committee must be taken into consideration more sensitively, I feel, as per the views of the speakers who were speaking earlier. While the intent of the bill is effective coordination, the apprehensions expressed by them and the dilution of autonomy and decision-making must be suitably addressed before the passage of the bill is my view, sir. My concern here is the intent of the government is to regulate CACS, but the larger question is, do we have the required infrastructure and manpower for the proposed additional responsibilities? Has the government planned to address this issue? While speaking about manpower, the officers are already overburdened with work. Are we going to be recruiting more officers for this process? Currently, the recruitment via UPSC is declining year after year, so this is an important issue, sir. Sir, the bill provides for disclosure of pending complaints or actionable information against members of the institutes and firms registered with them. Sir, I would like to ask, recording details of pending complaints in the register of members and register of firms before they are found guilty may adversely impact their reputation. Doesn't it give scope to vendetta politics? How are we assured that disclosure of pending complaints is not going to be selective in nature? Sir, also, while concluding, I would like to request the government, sir, to formulate financial literacy programs for people in general, so that women and men have an idea about issues like investments and taxation. Taxation not just limiting merely to income tax, but also GST, capital gain, and so on, sir. It is time for our public at large to become more financially literate. It is important that they understand, maintain, sir, 1 minute, just half a minute, maintain, file income tax returns, and have the necessary skills to set up and grow businesses. A time must come, sir, when the janta could act as a regulator. Sir, if you want to reap financial blessings, you must sow financially, it is said. And David Buck, I will end with his quotation, financial education needs to become part of our national curriculum and scoring systems so that it's not just the rich kids who learn about money, it's all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Shri Neeraj Dange.
केंद्र सरकार हर एक पर, चाहे वो व्यापारी हो, डॉक्टर हो, उद्योगपति हो, शिक्षक हो, सरकारी कर्मचारी हो, स्टूडेंट हो, अधिकारी हो, अमीर हो, गरीब हो, किसान हो, दुकानदार हो, या फिर चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ही क्यों नहीं हो, सभी पर अपना एक शिकंजा कसना चाहती है और सभी को अपने कंट्रोल में रखना चाहती है। यही हर बिल में, हर कानून में अपने तरीके से उसे बदला जा रहा है या संशोधित किया जा रहा है, ताकि देश के ऊपर उसे ज़बरदस्ती थोपने का कार्य सरकार कर रही है, और ये विधेयक भी उसी का एक उदाहरण है। मैं कुछ पंक्तियां सरकार पर कहना चाहूँगा। नफरत हो जाएगी तुझे अपने ही किरदार पर, अगर मैं तेरे ही अंदाज में तुझसे बात करूं। हम बात करते हैं इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया को, हम अगर मोटे तौर पर समझने की कोशिश करते हैं तो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, कॉस्ट एंड वर्क अकाउंटेंट्स एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज, ये तीनों ही इंस्टीट्यूट जो हैं, इनके मैनेजमेंट, इनके संबंधित काउंसिल्स जो हैं वो संभालते हैं। और इसी प्रकार से अगर किसी तरह का मिसकंडक्ट अगर होता है तो उसको रोकने के लिए एक डिसिप्लिनरी मैकेनिज्म है, और तीनों काउंसिल्स में समन्वय स्थापित करने के लिए एक कोऑर्डिनेशन कमेटी भी है। मैं समझता हूँ कि चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स, कॉस्ट एंड वर्क अकाउंटेंट्स एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज से संबंधित व्यवस्था को स्वायत्त रूप से मजबूत बनाने के लिए जरूरत है, ना कि इनके अनुशासन तंत्र को सुदृढ़ करने के नाम पर सरकारी हस्तक्षेप करने की आवश्यकता है और स्वतंत्र कामकाज को बाहरी तौर से प्रभावित करने की। यह प्रस्तावित बिल अगर इसकी विवेचना करते हैं तो प्रमुख मुद्दों पर यह बिल अपने कथित उद्देश्यों से भटकता हुआ नजर आ रहा है। हम उन प्रमुख मुद्दों पर जो है बात करना चाहेंगे। मैं ध्यान आकर्षित करना चाहूँगा सदन का। हम बात करेंगे डिसिप्लिनरी मैकेनिज्म की। यह बिल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया एंड अनुशासन समिति, जो कि इसकी एक शाखा है, उसके इर्द गिर्द घूमता है और प्रस्तावित बिल में एक स्वतंत्र डिसिप्लिनरी मैकेनिज्म जो है उसका उद्देश्य पूर्ण नहीं होता है। ऐसे में बिल में प्रस्तावित डिसिप्लिनरी बोर्ड एंड डिसिप्लिनरी कमेटीज के प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स जो संबंधित इंस्टीट्यूट के सदस्य नहीं होंगे, उन्हें केंद्र सरकार द्वारा संबंधित काउंसिल्स द्वारा तैयार किए गए व्यक्तियों के एक पैनल में से नॉमिनेट किया जाएगा और इसके अलावा डिसिप्लिनरी बोर्ड में एक बाहरी व्यक्ति को नॉमिनेट किया जाएगा और डिसिप्लिनरी कमेटी के अंदर 2 बाहरी व्यक्तियों को केंद्र सरकार के द्वारा नॉमिनेट किया जाएगा। यह कदाचित इस बिल के उद्देश्यों के अनुरूप नहीं हो सकता है। बिल के उद्देश्यों और कारणों के विवरण में कहा गया है कि इंस्टीट्यूट्स के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव और डिसिप्लिनरी आर्म्स के लिए विधेयक में डिसिप्लिनरी इंस्टीट्यूट्स की संरचना को बदलने का प्रस्ताव है ताकि अधिकाधिक बाहरी हस्तक्षेप और प्रतिनिधित्व को अनुमति मिल सके। सर, मेरा समय कितना सा? हाउ मच टाइम आई हैव?
आपका टाइम है, बोले।
हाँ,
हैव यू फिनिश?
हाउ मच टाइम हैव बीन अलॉटेड सर?
आपका समाप्त हुआ क्या? आप और बोलना चाहेंगे?
यस सर।
आपका समय
यस
है,
सर।
आप बोल सकते हैं।
ध्यान देने योग्य बात यह कि वर्तमान स्ट्रक्चर के तहत तीनों इंस्टीट्यूट्स की डिसिप्लिनरी कमेटी के बाहरी सदस्यों को केंद्र सरकार द्वारा स्वतंत्र रूप से नॉमिनेट किया जाता है और सीए अधिनियम के तहत केंद्र सरकार स्वतंत्र रूप से डिसिप्लिनरी बोर्ड में एक सदस्य को नॉमिनेट करती है। यह स्पष्ट नहीं है कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव और डिसिप्लिनरी कार्यों के बीच कॉन्फ्लिक्ट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट को कैसे एड्रेस किया जाएगा। 3 सदस्यों के बोर्ड में सदस्यों के रूप में 2 गैर सीए की नियुक्ति के प्रावधान का अप्रत्याशित प्रभाव हो सकता है, क्योंकि सीए के काम को मुख्य रूप से गैर सीए द्वारा आंका जाएगा। गैर सीए सदस्यों को अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स और ऑडिटिंग, स्कोप ऑफ ऑडिट, बेसिक कंसेप्ट्स ऑफ ऑडिट जैसे सत्य और निष्पक्ष भौतिकता परीक्षण आदि का गहन ज्ञान नहीं होगा। ऐसे में बिल के अंतर्गत यह प्रस्तावित किया गया कि अनुशासन समिति के प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर के पद पर केंद्र सरकार द्वारा एक नॉन सीए व्यक्ति पदस्थापित किया जाएगा। इसके पीछे सरकार की क्या गोपनीय मंशा है, यह समझ से परे। अभी तक आईसीएआई में प्रेसिडेंट या वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ही प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर्स बनते आए हैं एवं आईसीएआई के का कहना है कि भविष्य में भी यही प्रक्रिया वो अपनाना चाहते हैं। वर्तमान में अनुशासन समिति में 5 सदस्य थे, जिसमें से 3 आईसीएआई से थे तथा 2 सरकारी नामित थे। अब सरकार एक और नामांकित व्यक्ति की नियुक्ति कर रही है, जिससे अनुशासन समिति में 2 सरकारी नामांकितों से बढ़कर के 3 सरकारी नामांकित व्यक्ति हो जाएंगे। प्रोफेशनल्स के आचरण को केवल प्रोफेशनल्स द्वारा ही आंका जाना चाहिए, क्योंकि वह पेशे की तकनीकी नीतियों और परिषद द्वारा निर्धारित आचार संहिता और उनकी व्यवहारिकता या जटिलताओं की समझ सकता है, जिसे बाहरी व्यक्ति को समझने में, मैं समझता हूं कि वो बाहरी व्यक्ति समझने में सक्षम नहीं होगा। सीधे तौर पर, जैसा पहले हमारे एक वक्ता ने भी कहा, प्रिजाइडिंग ऑफिसर का नॉन सीए होना ऐसा दुष्प्रभाव डाल सकता है जो कि एक मेडिकल स्टूडेंट को सर्जरी सिखाने के लिए किसी इंजीनियर को भेज दिया जाए, और इस तरह का उल्टा कार्य मौजूदा सरकार ही कर सकती है, मेरा यह कहना है। बिल के उद्देश्यों और कारणों के विवरण में कहा गया है तो यह बिल डिसिप्लिनरी मैकेनिज्म को मजबूत करके इंस्टीट्यूट्स के सदस्यों के खिलाफ मामलों में त्वरित निपटान को प्राप्त करना चाहता है, जो क्लियर नहीं है। मैं समझता हूं कि इसमें बदलाव होना चाहिए। बहुत क्लियर है कि if same people will not be available for the parallel meetings, which will definitely hamper the speedy disposal of the pending cases.
धन्यवाद।
मैं
धन्यवाद।
सर बस कंक्लूड कर रहा हूं एक लाइन के साथ। अंत में कुछ पंक्तियों के साथ में मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि केंद्र सरकार कितनी भी मनमानी कर ले, कितना भी देश को अपने ढंग से चलाने की कोशिश कर ले, हर गलत निर्णय के अंदर हम लोग जो है विरोध करते रहेंगे और आपको झुकने पर मजबूर करेंगे।
धन्यवाद।
एक लाइन के साथ सर, सिंगल लाइन सर, हमने दुनिया में मोहब्बत का असर जिंदा किया है, हमने नफरत को गले मिल मिलकर शर्मिंदा किया है। धन्यवाद। जय हिंद।
श्री अरुण सिंह।
थैंक यू सर।
by the Chartered Accountant Act, cost at work accountant, कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज अमेंडमेंट बिल 2021 के समर्थन में बोलने के लिए खड़ा हूँ। मान्यवर, अभी लोगों ने जो कहना शुरू किया कि इस अमेंडमेंट के माध्यम से बहुत ज़्यादा रेडिकल चेंजेस किया जा रहा है। इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ऑफ इंडिया के जो ऑटोनॉमी है उसको भी खतरा है, उसको भी समाप्त किया जा रहा है। सरकार इसको कंट्रोल में लेना चाहती है और धीरे धीरे इस प्रोफेशन को समाप्त भी करने की कोशिश कर रही है, ऐसा विपक्ष के लोगों ने कहा। इन अमेंडमेंट के माध्यम से कैसे इंस्टीट्यूट की ऑटोनॉमी समाप्त हो सकती है, इसलिए लोगों को गुमराह नहीं करना चाहिए। आज भी जो सीए इंस्टीट्यूट है, किस प्रकार का कोर्स डिजाइन करना है, स्टूडेंट को कैसे एंट्री देना है, एग्जाम लेने का अधिकार, मेंबर को एनरोलमेंट करने का अधिकार, उनको ट्रेनिंग समय समय पे देने का अधिकार, वो तो सीए इंस्टीट्यूट के पास ही रहेगा। तो इस प्रकार से बातें करना मुझको नहीं लगता कि कहीं भी तथ्य से संबंधित है, इसलिए इसको मैं खारिज करता हूं। समय समय पर अमेंडमेंट आए, कोई पहली बार तो आया नहीं है। सीए एक्ट में अमेंडमेंट 1959 में आया, उसके बाद 2006 में आया, उसके बाद 2011 में आया, फिर आज 2021 में ले आया जा रहा है। ये समय की परिस्थिति के हिसाब से जैसे हमारी अर्थव्यवस्था चल रही है, जो सुधार हो रहा है, उसको देखते हुए लोगों का और विश्वास इस प्रोफेशन पे कैसे हो, और उसको ध्यान में लिया करके यह अमेंडमेंट ले आया गया है। इसलिए मैं इसका स्वागत करता हूँ। आज जो सीए जो प्रोफेशन है, अगर देखा जाए तो करीब 7 लाख से अधिक इसमें स्टूडेंट रजिस्टर्ड हैं और 3.4 लाख जो चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट हैं। 164 ब्रांचेज पूरे देश भर में हैं और पूरे विदेश में 44 फॉरेन कंट्रीज में यहाँ के चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट जो है उनका चैप्टर है, और फॉरेन रिप्रेजेंटेटिव जो है 31 कंट्रीज में है। मतलब कह सकते हैं कि यहाँ के चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट जो है उनका प्रेजेंस पूरे ग्लोब में है, पूरे विश्व भर में है। और तो और अगर मिडल ईस्टर्न कंट्रीज देखेंगे तो उसमें 70-80% उनके जो फाइनेंस को हेड करने वाले हैं वो यहाँ के पढ़े लिखे चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ही हैं, वही वहाँ की भी इकोनॉमी और वहाँ की कंपनियों को संभाल रहे हैं। 23 कंट्री ऐसी हैं विश्व की जिनके साथ हमारा एमओयू हुआ है या एमआरए है, तो यहाँ के लोग जाकर वहाँ भी प्रैक्टिस कर सकते, 1-2 परीक्षा दे करके, वहाँ के लोग यहाँ के भी आकर के परीक्षा दे करके वो प्रैक्टिस कर सकते हैं 23 कंट्रीज में। और यहाँ तक कि जो ग्लोबल अकाउंटिंग, इंटरनेशनल ग्लोबल अकाउंटिंग बॉडी हैं, जिनका बहुत पूरे विश्व भर में जिसके आधार पे पूरे फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट बनाए जाते हैं, ऑडिटिंग होती है, IFAC, कापा, CAPA कापा और SAFA साफा, ये तीनों जो इंटरनेशनल ग्लोबल बॉडी है, मैं बताते हुए हर्ष हो रहा है कि तीनों के फाउंडिंग मेंबर है, उसमें यहाँ इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ऑफ इंडिया उसका एक सदस्य है। तो इसलिए अब उनका विश्वास जो यहाँ के सीए हैं उन पे रहना चाहिए। जो दोषी हैं उनको सजा मिलनी चाहिए। अब पहले क्या होता, 2 साल, 4 साल, 5 साल, 6 साल, 7 साल लग जाता था। तो दोषी जो है उसको सजा तुरंत मिलनी चाहिए, और जो निर्दोष है वो 6 साल 5 साल क्यों इसके लिए अपना केस का इंतजार करे। इसके लिए सरकार ने सोचा है कि एक जो कमेटी है और डिसिप्लिनरी मैकेनिज्म अनुशासन समिति है, उसमें सुधार लिया है। और इसलिए सुधार का मैं तारीफ भी करूंगा कि जो निर्दोष है उसको जल्दी न्याय मिल जाएगा, नहीं तो 6-7 साल उसको इंतजार करना पड़ता था। अब सेपरेट एक तरीके से सेपरेट डायरेक्टोरेट होगा, 2 ज्वाइंट डायरेक्टर होंगे, वह जो केस आएगा उसको इवेल्युएट करेंगे, इस केस पे एक्शनेबल है कि नहीं एक्शनेबल है, वह निर्णय उसको तुरंत उसको कर लेंगे। और अगर वह एक्शनेबल है तब जाकर अनुशासन समिति के पास जाएगा, और वह भी समय रहते हुए 180 दिन में केस का निपटारा कर देगा। तो इससे कहीं बहुत बड़ा यह चेंज जो ले आया गया है, ये अच्छा ही है। इससे मुझको लगता है कि काफ़ी प्रोफेशन है
उस पर लोगों का और विश्वास बढ़ेगा। न आए दिन अखबार में पढ़ते हैं कि एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट पकड़ा गया, होता तो एक चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट पकड़ा गया, लेकिन सोसाइटी का विश्वास उस पर उठता है। तो इसलिए यह अच्छा ही प्रोविजन है। इसके साथ साथ कुछ इसमें यूनिफॉर्मिटी ले आई गई है। जैसे कास्ट अकाउंटेंट है, कंपनी सेक्रेटरी है, उनके जो है 4-4 साल के टर्म होते थे, तो अभी अमेंडमेंट करके इन सभी का जो है तीनों का 4-4 साल का टर्म रहेगा, जो काउंसिल के मेंबर होंगे। और उनका पहले 3 साल का टर्म था, तो अब 3 बार का टर्म था, अब 2 बार हो जाएगा। तो इसमें भी एक यूनिफॉर्मिटी आ जाएगी। इस बिल में एक और अच्छी बात है, पहले क्या होता था, मेंबर्स की जब फीस बढ़ाई जाती थी और स्टूडेंट की भी अगर फीस की रिवीजन होती थी तो गवर्नमेंट से अप्रूवल लेनी पड़ती थी। और इस बिल के माध्यम से कहा गया है कि मेंबरशिप जो फीस है उसका इंक्रीज करने का अधिकार काउंसिल के पास ही रहेगा, वह काउंसिल उसके फीस के बारे में डिसीजन ले सकता है। और इसमें एक हमको और अच्छा दिख रहा है कि जो पेनाल्टी क्लाज है उसको बढ़ाया गया है। पहले पेनाल्टी जो थी बहुत कम थी, उस पेनाल्टी को अगर कोई दोषी है तो उस पर 10 लाख रुपए का पेनाल्टी लगाया जाएगा, और कोई हैबिचुअल ऑफेंडर है, 5 साल में लगातार ऑफेंस कर रहा है, तो उस पर 50 लाख का उस पर पेनाल्टी लगाया जाएगा। ये अच्छा कदम है। इससे लोग जो है, मैं थोड़ी कुछ लोग जो गलत करते हैं, खौफ रहेगा और उनको सबक मिलेगा और वो ऐसा काम नहीं करेंगे। इसका भी अच्छा ही इसके लिए भी अच्छा ही इसमें मैं समर्थन करता हूं। और सेक्रेटरी जो इंस्टीट्यूट के सेक्रेटरी होता है उसको अधिक एम्पावर किया गया है। दैट इज आल्सो गुड मूव ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट कि वो सीईओ रहेगा, सो ही विल बी एबल टू टेक द डिसीजन टाइमली एंड एप्रोप्रिएटली। वो उसको डिसीजन को लेने का समय पे ले लेगा। और कुल मिलाकर के पूरे के पूरे जो भी अमेंडमेंट है वो उसकी सराहना करता हूँ। कुछ लोगों ने ज़रूर एप्रहेंशन व्यक्त किया है, लेकिन वैसा वो सच नहीं है। लोगों को डरने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। अच्छा काम करो तो क्यों डरोगे। और दूसरी बात क्या है, कोई सीधे अनुशासन समिति में तो केस आ नहीं जाएगा, पहले केस का इवैल्यूएशन होगा। इवैल्यूएशन के बाद अगर एक्शनेबल है कि नहीं है, फिर उसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे। और इसलिए इसकी चिंता नहीं करनी चाहिए। हमें गर्व है कि आज जो सीए जो प्रोफेशन के लोग हैं वह ग्लोबल स्टैंडर्ड अभी नहीं, बहुत शुरू से उसको मानते हैं, अडॉप्ट करते हैं, और वो ग्लोबली दे आर वेल अवेयर ऑफ। और इस प्रोफेशन के लोग भी बहुत अच्छी अच्छी जगहों पे बैठे हैं। कई बैंकों के जो शुरू से लेके इस पोजीशन पे HDFC जैसे बैंक को ले जाने वाले भी सीए थे। और इवन डीन ऑफ हार्वर्ड बिजनेस स्कूल के भी अगर उसका डीन है हार्वर्ड बिजनेस स्कूल का, तो वह भी सीए है। और बहुत सारे ऐसे नाम हम बता सकते हैं। यहाँ तक कि 80% जो कंपनियाँ हैं, कंपनी के जो CFO हैं वो भी चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ही हैं। मैं इस बिल का समर्थन करते हुए अपनी बात समाप्त करता हूँ। और इस बिल के माध्यम से अवश्य रूप से सोसाइटी में कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ेगा। और जैसे हम इकोनॉमिक रिफॉर्म के लिए और एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव रिफॉर्म के लिए आगे बढ़े हैं, उसमें भी काफ़ी अच्छा कंट्रीब्यूशन होगा। और ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस जो है उसमें भी इसका एक कुछ न कुछ जरूर योगदान आगे रहेगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपको।
धन्यवाद माननीय अरुण जी। माननीय अब्दुल वहाब जी, माननीय अब्दुल वहाब नॉट प्रेजेंट। माननीय विनय विश्वम जी।
There is a saying that we all know, an old saying. The one who pays the fiddler has the right to decide the tune also. It is applicable to everything nowadays. In the market-friendly days, when it became market fundamentalism in the country and the whole world, it is the moneyed people and the rich people that decide the character, the habits, activities of everything. Not only for the CAs, chartered accountants, even for the government bodies, for the government itself, it is the truth that they decide the tune. In that background, the move of the government to bring certain amendments and regulations
the matter of the chartered accountancy is to be viewed. There is a feeling that the professional character of the profession is going to be eroded by the involvement or intrusion of the government. The government is trying to put its hands on every activities of the chartered accountancy. It's mainly a professional task, and that professional character has to be upheld. I don't know, the present government or the bill would appreciate how much, to what extent, this basic necessity of the chartered accountancy. Sir, the Board of Discipline, the main controlling body of the whole profession, how it is going to be conducted and how it's going to be constituted. Majority of them seems to be are drawn from the profession. They are there, but only for namesake. Politicians and the government nominees are going to control it. That means the government wants to control everything. Every walks of life has to be run only by the government is not an appreciable approach that we can support. The same way, the bill talks about a disciplinary committee. Discipline to any profession is a must.
Please conclude.
We know it. But a professional task, a professional job should be judged by professionals only, not by politicians, not by bureaucrats. But the government wants to control that also.
Thank you.
Kind of, no sir, one sentence. This kind of overhandedness of the government is